Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome everyone to the Challenger Showcase presented by Team Ambition. My name is Dia. I am joined by TDS, and we have got, well, as the name would imply, a bunch of Challenger players ready to play their very first best of one of the night. But we don't just have them here. If you want to check out the entirety of the Challenger Showcase, we've got streams on XLNC right here, XLNC 2, Team Ambition, and the Nameless Org. If you can find them on Twitch, and I'm sure the mods will help you with links in the chat below. But welcome, TDS, to our very first game.
Yeah, the first game, the first one on this particular stream, where we will see potentially some of the players that will rise eventually to the NA higher levels. Luckily, it's what we all hope to see. And hopefully, we can get some good matches to showcase the ability of these players. And I feel like we have a bunch of players in all lobbies that can impress and deserve to be looked at by different teams.
Of course, and a lot of these players as well are active. They're not just sitting around
Yeah.
waiting in solo queue for things to come to them. These are teams or players that are already playing for things like their universities, things like amateur teams around and trying to participate in unified events, in PGCQ, in everything they possibly can. This is just one more step that everyone is taking, and I think it's important that we send everybody home with the idea that this isn't the only place that you can watch these players. If somebody catches your eye, go follow them on Twitter. Keep up with where they're playing because they are everywhere.
Yeah, one thing that I feel like it's becoming better and better with transition that we're seeing in amateur esports is watching these players begin to try and showcase themselves much more so than just being solo queue stars. Because I feel like nowadays that kind of simple impact no longer works as effectively to try and catch the eye of a lot of people. So I feel like these players have evolved in that regard, and we can see them, like you're pointing out, in multiple tournaments, even streaming, trying to get their hands onto the amateur scene so that they can be showcased by everyone. And it seems like we're starting this draft as soon as we can. So I think
Yep.
we can just go into it.
We're already into it, yes, as you mentioned, and I'm not sure what you guys can see on your end. I suppose I could pull up the stream, but for me, for my own sanity, I'm just gonna go through and sort of illustrate who's playing on what side because it'll definitely explain the Kazakhs ban. I'll start on the red side
Yeah.
with Hoarder, Cyber, Stevenator, Soup Fan, and Suffix playing, and on the blue side, Solidified, Limo, Juke Jouster, ZKG, and Nine Lives, which like I said, definitely explains the Kazakhs ban when you consider
Yeah.
that Cyber is playing on one side.
Yep, 100%. This is the kind of instances where we see players try to take away from some of the, I don't want to say one tricks, but they're more comfort picks towards themselves.
Mhm.
Even though it is to showcase themselves, I feel like teams still want to take away picks that are not comfortable enough or are may potentially be selfless. So I feel like a completely normal draft. Apart from the Kha'Zix, I feel like a lot of normal bans in the Rise, the Seri, the Jinx, and then a couple of niche ones like the Fiora and the Cillian, but it's still all
Mhm.
the same with the idea of the Kha'Zix. Now, it is a Hecarim pick from the start, and I think that almost everyone loves to pick Hecarim. Hecarim is in such a great spot. It can showcase really nicely the strengths of a jungler in team fighting, essentially. Same with the Viego. So I think we're already getting a picture of what maybe the junglers want to try and do with a little bit more focus towards mid game and maybe even late game.
Yeah, and because you want to present your best foot forward, right? And so
Yeah.
part of this is going to be picking champions that do have a lot of autonomy. I actually think it's an interesting point that you bring up about the OTPs, right? Or people that just play a lot of one champion.
Yeah.
As, say, Cyber, you're very well known for Kha'Zix. And down the bot side of our blue side, we've actually got a pretty prolific Zillion player having 116 games on one account already this season. But in a weird way, the Challenger Showcase is about so much more than demonstrating that you're really good at the picks that we already know you can play, that you play so much. It's about showing us something new. So we'll
Yeah.
see where these junglers firstly end up taking us.
Yeah, it's important to give us a little bit of a taste of something much more than we may see. And I feel
Hmm.
like Hecarim and Viego can achieve that. Like meta junglers that you see played a lot, and if you can perform on on a good level with this kind of meta junglers with your team, then I feel like it's a good showcase of the junglers, even if they don't do quite well, or if they do quite well with each of these champions. Now, looking at the later picks, we have a Jhin in the bot lane, and I feel like for AD carry, this is one of the more interesting picks to try and showcase your kind of lane priority and the way that you can play later on to facilitate for your team. Showcasing that you're not mainly an AD carry for to try and get the kills, but also that you can play a different role in your team and still be good in that. Same with the Senna. I feel like both fill up a similar niche in the sense that they want to support their team, but it also shows flexibility in the AD carries if they can play this and later on play a much more heavy carry.
Yeah, I wonder where we're getting what, because Senna specifically is super
Okay, true.
flexible in between the support and AD carry role. And with a Senna
True.
Seraphine lane, you're definitely demonstrating not just knowledge that you can support your team, but if you can actually pull something like this off, an ability to play out of meta in a very, very cool way.
Yep, I feel like people don't appreciate this kind of potential flex picks as much as they would because even though the meta is designed to be to have most of the strong champions, if you can play this kind of flex, it's bans that your enemy team has to accumulate onto you. It's things that you have to consider going against the team that can play this kind of drafts, and it's a much bigger strength to have compared to just trying to play the meta things. Now, this still doesn't mean that we know where Seraphine and Senna are going. Like this can still be Seraphine AD carry and Senna in the support position. So this is still a nice flex to see, or even Seraphine in the mid lane, like not necessarily showcasing where these two champions may end up being put on. And then the Karma, which I feel for the purpose of the Jhin, which is try and control bot lane and then try to apply pressure for your jungler to have an easier time, then I think Karma Jhin is one of the lanes that make much more sense to see.
You get a lot of access to good push. Very curious to see how that lane dynamic would play out. Of course, not locked in yet for our red side, so they're waiting to see what the actual best play will be into Senna Seraphine if they've got any other options, because a lot of these players haven't played with each other before. You don't know what everyone's got up their sleeve and what sort of lanes they're comfortable playing in. The Karma does eventually get locked in, sending us into the second phase. And though you alluded to the fact that Seraphine could be flexed around, I think a large part of this is still going to be focused around jungle and, sorry, not jungle, around the mid and top lanes.
Yeah, so lanes are still positions that you can flex quite a bit. So it's not surprising that we see already focus towards the top lane. I think Camille, Jace, two of the most primordial bans, in my opinion, towards top lane, especially because of how much they can do with little to no attention. So it's important to take them away. Now, I would think you try and take away a mid lane in one of these two, but it's Gragas. I'm surprised Picture is left open. I feel like Picture is such a prolific mid laner right now that I'm kind of surprised that it's getting left open, but a lot of focus on the top lane kind of showcases that both teams don't really want to allow for the top lane to have an easy time in either matchup, even if it's favorable or unfavorable for them.
No, not at all, especially because so much of the top lane is an island. A reminder of the fact that these tops and jungles haven't had that much time to synergize, so ganking top becomes all that much harder. You want to make sure that there's a stable matchup up there, and with the Syndra pickup on R4, I think there's even more coins in that basket now. You definitely don't want to be giving up any sort of counterable matchup on the blue side, and you'd rather pick something that's all around powerful. But with things like
Yep.
Gragas, Camille, and Jace already taken away, what do you even go with?
At this point, it feels like maybe you're trying to leave yourself open for a potential Kennen, a potential maybe even Vladimir. He has been rising a little bit, so we may see that. The only worry is that you're kind of pulling yourself into a spot where you need a much more heavy damage dealer on the top side because Syndra is much more burst type kind of mage, even though she can do quite a bit of damage consistently. It's much more burst type. Jhin is burst type as well, which means that you won't get that consistent burst. And Diego doesn't have quite the range, which means that he needs someone to support him in going in for the damage. I feel like that's what Red should up to in this position. Now, from the blue side, I like the Ari pick. This means that it's going to be Ari mid lane against the Syndra, a lot of kill pressure, but a lot of big potential as well put into with the team fighting that they already have drafted. You still need, I think, a little bit of either 80 damage or a tank here, a really heavy tank that can really engage by himself or follow up with a Hikarim. I think Sion Orn wouldn't be a problem, but if you're looking for carries, I wouldn't be against Akali. The only thing is that I'm kind of
Hmm.
scared if she gets countered, but I think Akali wouldn't be that bad in this position.
No, not at all. I like what you
Okay.
were going with the Scion though, and it seems like overall the team agrees with you. We're going to get solidified up there on the top side, solidifying his health bar throughout the course of this game because Scion is nothing if not immovable.
Yep.
On the other side of this, you have a selection, right? Fiora's already been taken away, so you're not going to hard counter the tank, but go with something with perhaps a little bit more split push, a little more autonomy. I know that things that are
Ooh.
whispered about, like Yorick, are still available, but it will be that set, interestingly enough, to both take to the front line and, interestingly enough, to your point, be able to support Viego in those potential team fights.
Yeah, I think crucially one of the mechanics that said is going to be so valuable here is the ultimate denial because we know Hecarim and Sion can go in. If he can stand in front of them and then counter engage with an ultimate from either of those two champions, or just engage with an ultimate by using those champions, that can put Sen and Surfing into such tough spots. And I think that if Zed is the one that is going to take the full brunt of the damage thanks to his Haymaker and his survivability, I can see Viego being a secondary sort of source of damage where he can just try and cover up for Zed maybe not having enough damage and then utilizing the resets. I think that Zed is one of the potentially better choices in top lane. I was a little bit scared because if they opted into Kennen, Akali, Vladimir, or maybe even when I think would not be that great. I think that said adding the extra 80 damage that you needed is not that bad, and then you can kind of rely on the Syndra to be the sole AP damage, which I think it's not that bad for the red side. But still, I think Blue has drafted a really solid team fighting composition when you look at it.
Yeah, I'm gonna posit something here because you and I can
Okay.
both agree that on blue side, you've got an excellent 5v5.
Yeah.
You really don't need to be in the side lanes that much. I'm sure you have avenues to do so. But red side, it seems to me, though we are talking about their tools in team fights, feel much stronger in skirmishes, feel much stronger in, I dare say, the early game, because I look at the mid lane and the top lane 2v2, and I think that's pretty strong. I look at the bot lane and I go, that's pretty strong. And I feel like, with the exception of what is a pretty hard scaling jungler, everybody has very early power spikes and should be able to turn red side into one that snowballs from that 5 minute mark, from that first dragon all the way to the 25-minute mark. It doesn't give blue a chance to fight back.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a perfect point to bring up the fact that you're really going to be playing around those starting moments of the game because,
Mhm.
and I think we talked about this with the Jin, the Karma. One of the ideas that you draft these two champions for, it's getting the push, controlling bot wave, and then going around supporting your jungler. If you can get the pushing bot in mid and allow for your jungler to have much more control over the map, then that means that you can begin getting leads over the Hecarim. And putting behind the Hecarim is one of the ways to make him feel like a useless champion until at least 20 minutes. Like you're pointing out, getting those early advantages is going to be so crucial. And they have really nice peak potential, if I'm honest with you. Like, if they can single out Hecarim, Ari, Surfing, Senna, I think, apart from the Sion, the other four champions are champions that if you can single out, they can get bursted out quite effectively. And you have executors on both Viego, Syndra, even Jin to a certain degree with the fourth shot. So you can have a lot of avenues to try and pick some champions before objectives, before certain moments, and make the most out of those picks, especially to try and snowball your lead, which I think Red is trying to play around because I think team fighting would be a little bit harsher for them. And later on in the game, it's probably not going to be ideal for them to try and force team fights.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of moving parts here, and if you're joining us from the amateur scene, you're definitely going to notice names like Cyber and like Limo, who we're expecting to be big movers in this game as the junglers that pop between
Yeah.
every lane. I encourage you to keep your mind open because if you haven't heard of any of the other players, I'm going to guarantee you these guys are pretty darn amazing. We've been doing our research on the backside, and like we talked about, they've been playing around the amateur scene. They've been grinding out their ranks, and they've been consistently participating in especially collegiate tournaments. We got a lot of collegiate representation on the Rift with us today. So in between the games, I'd encourage you to take a look at, hey, if you've got any players that caught your eye, any champions who you're interested to see play out, take a look at the player histories because when we come back to Summoner's Rift, we will be doing just that. We'll see you in a few.
This world's colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of a world that we defy.
Welcome to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. Very first game of Challenger Showcase here on XLNC. And well, we finally get to see everything we set up in draft pay off. We've got a pretty typical 5-man spread. Nobody taking any risks too early on. But Important to note that we did get that Seraphine ADC that you were talking about. A little bit of mix around there with a fasting Senna for 9 lives.
Yep. I'm a huge fan of going for the fastings, and I just like the fact that you can just get free gold by just existing as Senna, and you get stronger just thanks to your passive. So all in all, I'm a huge fan of the decision making there. Now, I want to focus a little bit on what we're looking in the minimap, not only the fighting in the mid lane, the push from the Syndra, but the fact that Viego is starting on the top side, same with the Hecarim. So they are going to crash into bot lane eventually. If they don't make a full clear, they are bound to get crossed by the Scuttle Crab, which means that if a fight starts, the pressure in mid and bot is going to benefit the side of the red team, which I think is going to be so crucial.
At this point, it's also ridiculously important that we did get a little bit of spotting on Cyber, so there is a read on where this Viego is going, and even more crucially, the fact that the Krugs weren't done up towards top side has got him down near the bot lane a little bit faster than Limo would. With it, Soupfan and Suffix making really good use of their pressure and going on an invade, this could be one of the few very early plays that we see today.
Yeah, and interestingly, they spotted the Hecarim with a ward in the Raptors, which means that they know that the Hecarim was on the bot side. They were able to collapse. Diego ignored the blue buff and the wolves as well, so they are going to steal the red buff. Such a good team play that you can see from 5 players that don't typically play together, and getting so much value out of this. They are going to get the Scuttle Crab as well, and a great start for the early game for the red team, something that we wanted to see from them.
With the early power, setting the Hecarim behind, putting Cyber in a position where he can do what we know Cyber for best, snowballing. However, definitely keeping my eyes on how the bot lane will use this pressure, as well as already topside. We've got a first blood going down, a flash underneath the tower, and Hoarder crashes a wave and sacrifices his life to take out Solidified in a really good look.
Yeah, that was... I think both of us were caught kind of unexpectedly with that solo kill. Still really nice by Hoarder, forcing even the flash out, which means that that solo kill means much more for the set. He crushed the wave, was able to get value, heavy trade in bot lane, but not much shit. But yeah, in the top lane, they get value thanks to the crash, and they also get the first blood, as well as the flash. So would you even set up for Diego potentially coming in top lane if the wave is in a really bad spot for the Sion? All in all, such a crucial first blood, and even though the Sion gets something back, it's not comparable to that of the set.
And it's from one of our relatively unknown players as well. Hoarders made their entrance into the scene with just a very small stint on Cosmic Wolf, a roster that disbanded extraordinarily quickly, not really giving the players a fair chance to shine, and yet Hoarder's already making use of whatever time we have here today to leave his mark on Summoner's Rift. A single kill is going to mean a lot, and it does look like for the entirety of the Red Squad, the lanes are actually going pretty darn well.
Yeah, they drafted to try and get a little bit of power, and they are certainly making the most out of it. Essentially getting a CS lead in almost every lane, even in jungle, getting a lot of value out of the champions, and making this early game be so much more powerful for them. This is going to be, once again, by the way, Diego collapsing into the Hecarim, trying to steal from them. They have vision.
Stevenator's got lane priority as well. This is just so simple of an invade for the red side, but the coordination leaves it as anything but. I believe Limo did get that snipe, and 9 lives and ZKG are on their way. Soupfan over the wall, needs to play support for his team as Suffix takes the majority of the damage, flashing away. Cyber with one more auto would secure the last kill, but 9 lives gets out over the wall. Now, Cyber has the backup of Soupfan, and Stevenator still barely alive at 100 HP. Limo picks up the kill, and now with Stevenator rejoining the fray, we will get the charm landing on Soupfan, but as equally the kill picked up by this Jhin. A really all-out brawl inside of this bot side.
Yeah, and I'm honestly surprised how so many members survived with so low health bars. The biggest surprise to me is that Seaver couldn't get a reset. If he gets one reset, that's it.
Oh, level 6 from Solidified. Hoarder can't survive that.
Couldn't get it. He was trying to get the last minion to just ding level 6 and maybe turn it around. Great play by Solidified, by the way. Great answer, getting the push, getting the level advantage, and going for the solo kill. This is something that, even though Hoarder made the most advantage previously, it was something that could have been punished. Pushing so heavily and going for so much of those traits. It was a kind of two-edged kind of sword, where yes, you're gaining advantages by going for those traits, but if you lose one, then you may end up getting punished, like we just saw. Great answer by Solidified, and putting the top lane once again into a similar spot.
And now, Solidified is a guy who's been around for a long time, so I'm sure that though he got taken down early, we can tell the tenacity of having been around the scene for a while.
Ooh,
9 lives, however, getting caught out with Superfan on the 4th shot. It's going to be difficult to survive. Still on 1 HP. Kill ends up getting picked up by Suffix, but we got another trade in the top side. Solidified once again makes their mark, entering the scene in 2019. Making it all the way to PGCQ Open qualifiers in 2022. Solidified definitely knows his way around top lane.
Yeah, it's important to have those kind of a small things that can put you over other players. So Solidified showing really nice. Also, just to quickly point, he went for the pickaxe, so his traits are going to hurt. If you don't respect the Scion, he's going to do damage to you. And I think Solidified has been playing really nicely around the edge with the Scion, getting those kills, and now putting the lane into an even better spot for him. Oh, wait, he's 2 levels down though.
Yeah, this is a tough trade, and you've got to imagine if you're seeing this as Solidified that he's buying time, but no, Orta's just going for it fully, and with the last smack, he's going to pick up the kill. Solidified still going to be able to, probably not take down a Krug. No, we can't take down a Krug. That pickaxe is crazy, man.
Value. That's the item value. Yeah, he gets actually extra gold, so it's not completely that bad. There is a 300 gold difference now in the top lane thanks to that kill, but we're seeing so much trading in the top lane that it means that any of the top laners can just get traded. Oh, cleanse.
Really nice cleanse from Superfan. I'm already impressed by this AD carry. I knew I was going to be impressed, and I say this with just a little bit of bias. Because he comes from UBC. I know he's playing for UBC right now, and I'm a UBC grad myself. So I saw his name here, and I was like, all right, Superfan, let's go.
Unbiased caster, by the way, but yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a good AD carry, you deserve the praise. I think also important that CKG didn't have the ultimate there, so it's the little things that could have made that kill potentially happen. Still great cleanse, like you're pointing out by Superfan, and ends up not getting punished by that. Game has just going for 8 minutes already an advantage for the side of the red team, but it's not that high. Wait, Limo.
It's alright, it's alright. Just a little bit of friendly trading, right? Limo knows that he's not under any threat, so much so that he's actually going to start up the Dragon. 9 lives, and ZKG with the push in bot side have managed to create enough of an advantage that around this first Dragon, the one that we expected to go to the red side, it's actually blue that are going to come away with the very first Ocean Drake for a little bit more sustain in the lanes that honestly, a lot of them are going to make really great use of. We look at ZKG and 9 lives. Yep. Well, now they're that much harder to kill. We look at the Ahri. Yeah, she's been getting punished by the Syndra, but now that starts to even up. And in the top side, well, I assume we're just going to keep murdering each other.
When you consider it, essentially everyone... Oh, wait. Engage in.
Charm needs to land, though. Hasn't actually hit just yet, but there it is. Right at the very tail end. No pun intended. Stevenator does get caught by that last bit of damage from the Ahri and subsequently picked up. Another kill going down in the bot side, and it looks like blue team, they are starting to pick up in a really big way with coordinated plays around the map.
Yeah, and it seems that the level 6 power spikes beneficiated really heavily the blue team. Going for those trades with the level 6, they get so much value. I think Stevenator holding the sun a little bit too long, in my opinion. I think that you could pull it off if you can, especially with the amount of balls that you had thanks to the ultimate. But still, great answer, great kill onto the Syndra and on the bot lane. They had ultimates, they have the damage, they are able to collapse into the Karma, and she doesn't have level 6 yet, so she gets even more damaged on her.
With some heavy trading in the top side, 9 lives once again decides to walk into the jungle. Seems like they'll get away with it for now, but a flash up in top side forces another from Solidified, who barely goes down to the last minion auto. Hoarder nicely calculating yet another solo kill up in the top side. And these two top laners, coming from very different backgrounds, seem to have had each other's number all game. We're just trading who gets to call.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to get a lot of solo kills from these top laners from now on. Crucifix.
You got Limo here as well. You don't want to underestimate this.
We don't have ultis though.
Nice sweeper as well with a double chain and another double root. It seems like the perfect time to engage, but a little bit of disjointed play leaves 9 lives on sub 100 HP. Superfan may be able to pick this up. Curtain call comes in. 9 lives will get spotted. 3 and 4 shots.
Oh,
Not going to
no.
connect. Cyber's on the hunt. Now Q not going to land this time, but Stevenator from downtown ends up picking up the kill. Limo's still holding on. Doesn't quite have the ultimate just yet, but needs to protect ZKG. Charging forward. Does get a little bit of damage down with Juke Jouster coming down south as well. Red team are going to disengage. They got what they came for, and Juke Jouster wants a little more. Very nicely done.
I feel like that was kind of telegraphed because of the fact that she was so heavily ulting in, trying to get the closing the distance. But still, great flashing charm. No flash, no cleanse utilized by Sufa. And I think that the cleanse just came off cooldown just by the time the charm hit. So it's not worth to actually make use of it. And I think Solidified will die again.
Doesn't have ultimate this time, but look at the pressure that Solidified is drawing as well. You've got a top laner who can create these areas where multiple people need to address them. The problem for blue team is that the level of coordination isn't there just yet. But imagine if they'd played together for a little longer, because being able to pull 2 people top lane as Sion is pretty darn good.
Yeah, whatever you can do to try and make the most pressure out of, even if your team doesn't necessarily heavily respond, it's still a gain in some sense. Like, you're forcing people off the map, gaining tempo on your side, and it's still important. Also, I want to point out, if we could quickly look out to the top lane turret from the red side, because it's just 1 plate left. Although now the top lane turret, oh wait, teleport?
Teleport, maybe a little bit misguided. We just got unleashed, but we'll forgive it for now. Limo will be lucky to get out of this, as right now it's just some trades on Stevenator to eat the unleashed power as well. The last Q picks him up. Stevenator really running the mid lane right now, even after receiving that gank, is able to roam to match the Ahri, pick up some kills, and honestly is playing excellent support for the rest of Red side.
Yeah, honestly making a lot of use out of moving around the map. Subfan, you're alone here. Oh,
That's gone down. He's already dead. It's already over. 2 versus 1 for the most part in this game. We've had Suffix roaming around quite a bit, which isn't inherently a bad thing. I say that as a support player who likes to roam. It's not a bad thing that Suffix is roaming, but it does mean that Soupfan, for the most part, is found in situations like this quite a bit.
Yeah, and this is a kind of situation where you're against teams that do have comms in. They can take advantage out of the AD carry that is alone, because he's going to have a tougher time responding, or not necessarily going to be able to depend on a lot of things to try and survive if he's overcommitting. And I feel like Subfan has been punished a little bit by that. I also think Sufix has been roaming maybe a little bit too much. I think that as Karma, even though it's not bad. Oh wait, Limo?
In this case, getting a little bit of the extra numbers advantage. Definitely paying off. Soupfan has come up as well. And with a strong 5-man center, it looks like we're definitely contesting for second Dragon. And Red Team recognizing they wanted that early power, but now is a little bit too late. Blue Team's coming in as well. Here comes the Scion Pain Train into the middle of 4, separating the team. Hoarder buys time, but it isn't nearly as much as Solidified will be able to buy. Or is it? With the very nice alley-oop. These top laners go down at around the same time, but Suffix falls very quickly next, and Red are on full retreat. We've got Soupfan opening up with the curtain call from the back, but Juke Jouster completely unbothered is trying to take on Cyber, and now desperately trying to escape. The Cyber can't quite get over the wall with the stolen Limo.
Talk about an escape plan out of Juke Jouster, but Cyber popping off with the ultimate, jumping around from one place to the other, and it's so important to point out the health bars there. And I think that Hoarder showcased why the set could have been is such a good pick for this team composition. You don't need to kill people. You need to get in, buy enough time for the team, make them be as low as possible, and Cyber can just go in with the ultimate, get a couple of resets here and there, and you lose the fight essentially. I think that playing the parts that they need to play from the red team almost perfectly. I think maybe Suffix don't need to die there, but all in all, I think they did such a good job playing the team fight, and I think Solidified opting into Hull Breaker, you're not going to tank quite as heavily. So if you're going to commit for fights, you have to be much more smart in the sense that, in the way that you want to opt into those team fights.
Difficult balance at the moment. Try and set your team up for success versus trying to have some insurance in the side lane. Right now, still relatively even between Hoarder and Solidified, but this Hull Breaker is making things significantly more difficult. As well as that, obviously, additional stats that come from it. Nice burst, however, 9 lives. Surprised that they don't go down after burning the flash as well. But it is relegating all of blue team into a little bit of a corner in the mid lane. While Solidified is actually feeling pretty comfortable up against Hoarder, it seems. Nice interrupt does come through, but a shield now laid down on Solidified, and he's not giving up the chase just yet. You know you're a Scion. You know that in a way, you're almost like Thanos. You are inevitable.
Yeah, you're just running onto people, killing them potentially, and this showcases the actual value out of the whole break. You are on a side lane, alone, 1v1, you win that. And Zion is a champion that, I think you pointed it out quite perfectly in the draft, an immovable force, but he can also become an unstoppable force if he just desires to go in and go for a fight. Showcasing that really well, Zion forces out a lot out of the set, doesn't get the solo kill, but he keeps on the push, he keeps on the pressure, and the red team needs to take advantage of something, especially when they see the Zion putting so much pressure like that, because even though it's not like they are on a specific timer, the longer the game goes on, the harder it becomes for them. Oh, the ulti?
Oh my god, that was what a charm from ZKG underneath the tower. Limo not going to get out of this one alive, as turret still does hurt at this point, but a curtain call could answer this back as well. Cyber goes in under the tower, does get the 1-for-1, and ultimately a 2-for-2 across the map. That was really nicely done.
Yeah, I love that. I love the ultimate, like you pointed out, such a good positioning from the ultimate to hit two people. Even though Subfan ends up using the cleanse, you still get full body out of that, and you collect a kill. Like, I think traits like that. Oh, wait. I think that was close.
Making really good use of that ward as well. The one popping over the wall. We've got another really heavy commit from Juke Jouster. Does have the flash this time, but Subfan's going to pay a little bit of respect. Using his own flash to try and escape underneath the tower. Solidified answers back, getting rooted up, but now out of tower range. You're not killing the Scion, surely, right? Hoarder's on the way, but I think everybody's got to be piling in here soon. Solidified is definitely baiting the fight.
Yeah, he's trying to, but with the Syndra now, you can get the damage down, and now even Cyber joining in. So Solidified getting baited a little bit too heavily. He goes in with the flash to try and get the Subfan. He forces out Subfan's flash, but you don't get the kill back. And even though it's not the worst of kills to get, because Zion will get value even if he dies, it's still free gold that you're giving over to the team. And I think that this Syndra and this Viego, even though they are not at that spot yet, they will become a problem if you keep them untouched. Syndra particularly, because she can burst out almost anyone.
Yeah, Stevenator is definitely demonstrating the experience that he's got at the highest level. Currently playing with Aquinas College. He really impressed everybody in UPL 2021 with a very high placement on the team Striking Vipers. Now come back to wreak havoc across the amateur scene. You can pick him up. See what you can do to your team. He's already doing this with the Syndra. You can tell it's going to be worthwhile. Skirmish brewing inside of this river. We're going to get an even better shot at it, flashing away from Juke Jouster's charm, but still ultimately finding one. We haven't got the kill just yet onto Cyber, who's managed to limp away, but Hoarder's job, which is to buy time, is now starting to turn around into dealing damage as he takes down half of two separate people's health bars, but can't quite buy enough time for the team to enter.
Yeah, and the problem with this fight this time around is Cyber cannot join in. He's forced out previously, but once again, another great ultimate by CKG. I don't know how he has done it, but those Serbian ultimates have been so on point. Getting that value out of the ultimate, you force out the flash, the ulti, and yes, you don't get the kill, but then the set goes in, he doesn't have his dive partner in the form of the Viego, and it's so much more harder to collect those kills. We saw how little health both of the members had at the end, but it didn't matter because no one was there to try and execute them and try and get the value out of those kills.
Difficult positions from both sides. Hoarder needing a little bit more backup, but again, I think of the fact that we didn't get that, or that we were in a situation in which Hoarder couldn't receive that backup. It's a lot like when we saw Solidified proxying waves up in topside. It speaks more to inexperience within the roster than it does the individual talent, because the fact that they're able to create these situations, take the team fights, and reduce people to half health, to Solidified's case, be able to sit up topside and create a situation where people do need to answer you, it's already impressive. Got to be coordinated at the right time. See if as the game goes on, that can be done. Stevenator, though, want to applaud, making really good use of the map resources, split pushing on this Syndra, starting to approach some of the most CS in the game, only rivaled by his mid lane counterpart, Juke Jouster.
Yeah, and I find it kind of impressive from Duke Jouster now that you pointed to Steven Ader as well, because I think Duke Jouster should have had less access towards most of the golden map, but he has been getting a lot of value, like you're pointing out, ahead of the Syndra, getting the side lanes push, not really focused by anyone, and he's quietly been 2-0 and 4, so actually finding quite an impact in the game.
One level as an advantage
Oh.
for Hoarder. Maybe enough to take the fight underneath the tower, but Solidified would beg to differ as the Scion is going to be able to tank up quite a bit. Gets Hoarder pretty significantly lower, but now has the difficult and unenviable task of clearing out this wave before it gets taken down by Cyber and Hoarder. Nobody really wanting to approach the Scion just yet. Wave starting to get cleared, but Hoarder and Cyber do eventually commit, with Cyber actually taking that extra step, committing the the Heartbreaker.
Close enough in names, not
Yeah.
quite the actual name, but hey, it's close enough and I took it. But yeah, forcing the ultimate out, I'm not sure if there was ever a chance that we could actually see a kill unless maybe Hoarder flashes in with the set to try and get onto the Scion. But all in all, they do collect the turret. No bounty yet, which means that it's not the extra gold out of the turret, but it's gold nonetheless. And it's something that you matter, especially with the coming Drake coming up in 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Now, I wanted to ask you something way, way earlier, and it seems like we've got just a little bit of breathing room around, say, 2 minutes and 30 seconds to try and figure it out. Because now, now if we're looking at Cyber's items, you'll notice that they've got the Divine Sunderer. But Cyber actually started this game by going Blade of the Ruined King first. And this is something that I don't see every Viego do. I wanted to know from your perspective whether this was the mark of a player's style, whether it was a game state choice, or whether this is just some new build that I haven't heard of.
I think it has to do with the fact that you're facing off against champions that should have a lot of survivability. So Zion, Hecarim, and thanks to the existence of Senna Seraphine, I think that you're facing champions that are hard to kill in a sense. And we talked about how Viego, with the addition of Zed, now becomes a secondary damage dealer. I think that with this, he can run down opponents if they are low enough in health, which for the Viego, it's not that bad. I would have thought, honestly, with the Blade of the Ruined King at the start, that he would opt into much more critical damage. I was expecting maybe to see something like a Shield Bolt to give to his survivability and add to even more of his lifesteal. But I think that having the Sunder is not bad because it does give him survivability and even more capability to kill the Scion, to kill the Hecarim, and not be taken out as easily as he would previously be.
We're seeing some really nice reactive building, if that's the case, then. Being able to go, okay, well, game state early on does mean that resets are more important than anything, Blade of the Ruined King, and now that we're approaching the mid-game, we haven't snowballed too much yet, so survivability is the name of the game. I like the fact that being able to pick up on those very small differences between just stages of where we're at on Summoner's Rift. Cyber has chosen to itemize this way, and we'll see how it continues to impact these team fights, as you alluded to. Another one's coming up. We've got about 30 seconds until then. It seems like Red will have mid-priority coming up on it.
Yeah, getting the push onto the mid lane important. I think a pretty much universal concept to try and get control over the mid lane to then get control over the dragon, which is pretty much typical movements for the teams to try and get control. Oh, Limo!
Out of the week, not quite finding the stun, but this Hecarim's not too tanky, especially against magic damage just yet, so I like that we did go for the pick. Steven Ader definitely able to burst out. Pain Train coming from behind, though, and Suffix is able to get away. In commits Hoarder, and does have a big haymaker to lay down back across Limo, but now we're playing front to back, and Solidified is going to win that every day of the week. Red side starting to back away, recognizing that their health bars are low, but Hoarder has the teleport, and on the reset, we'll actually have access to some really nice flanks if he can join this fight. Root comes in, Dragon goes down, but blue side are still on the hunt for these kills.
Yeah, they react a little bit too late to the play of the Dragon, or I want to say instead, red side forcing the Dragon, opting into bursting it down, which I really like because at that point, they cannot go for a team fight. We were talking about Hoarder potentially using the teleport, but his teleport would be essentially useless. There's no more cooldowns on the side of the red team. Jhin ultimate down, Syndra ultimate down, Cyber's ultimate just came back up, and Hoarder didn't have ultimate either. So it would have been such a bad team fight for them to take. Now, him opting into the Baron buff, I think this can be an actually really smart play if they don't get engaged on.
Another situation. Red don't have all the ultimates that they would like. Hoarder has no access to getting inside the pit. Instead, just laying down some damage initially, but flashing in, gets taken down almost as fast as he arrived, with Stevenator and Suffix backing away. Limo does eventually go down, but Stevenator is short to follow. Soupfan is left all on his own, separated from Suffix, and it is a disaster for the red team as Blue set up a turn away from Baron perfectly and end up finding an ace.
Yeah, and even Nine Lives just finding the kill on the Jhin. This will become the Baron buff. And this exemplifies what we were talking about with Red's composition. Even though it's great that they have great ultimates to play around with and they can execute, when they are down, they will have a tough time. Because cooldown-wise, you have heals from the Seraphine, you have heals from the Senna, you still have the Charm from the Ahri that it's on 8 seconds, I think, at this point. You have Hecarim that it's still a champion that, importantly, didn't use Onslaught of Shadows previously, which means that they have a team fight advantage with your ultimate. So it's really hard for the side of the red team to try and force a fight and simply not get punished at all. And we see the punish from the blue team. Great execution, great bait in the Baron buff by the call from, I don't know who made the call, but it was a really smart call, and everyone following up was the correct play, and then forcing the fight to end up winning the Baron buff and get even more gold.
Yeah, so there's some really big brains on the blue side to recognize that with just the cooldown advantage, which is so much harder to really conceptualize at times, that they had the ability to take that fight quite cleanly. Nothing exemplifying it more than when Hoarder was unfortunately caught without really a way in. However, that's not the problem anymore. Ultimate is available for Hoarder, although if this fight goes his way, may not be for long. Limo taking the wrong end of the trade for now, but Juketao's just starting to come over. Soupfan gets taken out by 9 lives from downtown, and now Hoarder's in a 1v2, not quite able to turn it around just yet. Is waiting on that Haymaker cooldown, gets it back, but misses the actual main damage, and now Limo's able to clean him up, or rather help, pushing him back into Juke. Jouster to collect that kill as a duo. Now you get to continue making great use of the Baron buff. Nice coordination between the mid and jungle on their first game together.
Yeah, really nicely executed by them. And I think that Hoarder, even though he lost the fight, he was in a tough spot because this is something that the red team has a really huge problem with. Baron buff pushes. Like, there's no good way to answer this unless they heavily commit, and it's on the back of Hoarder. But Hoarder was alone. Oh, wait.
I like that ZKG is
Nice
going
attempt.
for these. He's staying in their heads. He's staying in my head, honestly. just to see Seraphine constantly throwing these out. He's been making plays on Seraphine ADC, not something you see every day, but since really the beginning of the game has continued to be terrifying. Has forced Red into a position where now they're on the verge of losing 2 inhibitors, and the scaling of blue team is really starting to come online. What we're keeping an eye on is how well they execute this macro.
Yeah, they don't need to overcommit, although we're seeing an engage there. Solidified getting committed here, but they are losing mid inhibitor and mid turret.
Yeah, if you've got 4 people on Solidified, you know everybody else has to be committing to, as you already alluded to, the mid inhibitor. Nice use of the Hex Gate as well from Limo. Leaves the other team going, eat my Hex pose. Getting out just in time as well, 45 seconds up until this next dragon. Red side will have a difficult time contesting it, and in the same way as we were looking at blue side and going, it's a matter of how well you can execute this macro, now we're getting a taste of how the individual members of red team operate when playing from significantly behind, from a losing game position.
Yeah, they need to try and showcase something and pull back this game. They have the tools, don't get me wrong, because their combo still functions essentially almost the same. Ultimate in with the set, make the Seraphine, the Senna, and even the Ahri be as low as possible. Cyber gets in and collects the kills. That's essentially how I expect most fights for this red team to work out, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win a fight, it's going to be like that 100%. Now, blue team needs to not allow that to happen at all, and they need to keep the distance. Like, one thing that I think I failed on mentioning about blue team's composition is also the range. Seraphine and Senna have quite a bit of range, especially at this point, where Senna has a lot of souls. So this just makes it harder for them to try and engage on the Senna, and Senna with lethality against a team that doesn't build quite a lot of armor is also going to be quite a pain to deal with.
Already proven to be quite difficult, and Soup fan especially not having the greatest time. I'm still remembering Jin getting taken down from a quarter HP on a global ultimate. I'm sure it didn't feel good, but Soup fan has recovered, almost hitting the third item. The question is whether it's a little bit too late, because red team are already being pushed into their base, and the Baron has expired. Double super minions in every lane are really difficult to deal with. Hoarder getting engaged on is forced to burn the ultimate defensively once again, and with no follow-up from the rest of the team, Juke Jouster keeping everyone at bay. We've got a big Senna ultimate coming through to make sure that you're all nicely shielded up, nicely topped up. Blue team have made this mid-game theirs, and with Cyber, even so, picking up the kill, picking up the reset. This fight's not going to go their way. The Nexus is going to go down, and blue team are going to win for game 1.
Yeah, nice execution by blue team, playing around their timings, playing around their potential team fighting prowess, which at the end ended up making them go over the line. I think that understanding the ring condition and playing around it really well, huge credit to Nine Lives. I think that playing the Saya to a really nice degree. I also love the idea of opting into the rapid fire cannon, then into the lethality build, because it allows for him to collect the souls much more easily, as well as poke and get the damage down. And then you just opt into, with the free gold that you get, into the lethality, which is not a pricey build to opt into. Really nice decision making there.
It was really exciting to watch this game as well, just from the minute one when we started getting trades in every lane. Then we translated it up to top side and just watched them kill each other for a while. We had highlight plays going on almost everywhere, and I'll tell you what, we're gonna get even more because those two top laners aren't going anywhere. They're matching up again next game.
Ooh. We have a potential counter matchup once again. Now I hope we get maybe a little bit more bruisery style matchup, because even though Zion said wasn't a bad matchup at all, I think that Zion is a much more forgiving kind of top laner, in the sense that if you die once, it's not going to be that bad. So I would love to see a much dangerous matchup from Solidified, but one that if he wins, he can just run over the game.
Well, let's find out if it ends up coming at us. We've still got 2 more games to go today, and I will say a potential interview, although I make no promises. We're still figuring things out. So we're going to take a very short break and see whether we come back with an interview or game 2, but one of them will be coming at you in just a few minutes. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We do indeed have an interview, and I suppose, in a way, TDS, we don't just have one interview. We kind of have 3, and so with the 3 members of Blue Side from last game, Limo, ZKG, and 9 Lives joining us, I'm going to start with the lane that I play. I'm going to start with the bot lane. ZKG and 9 Lives. I know that you guys maybe hadn't had the opportunity to practice together from this team before, but had you played together at all before?
No, we've never played together before.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever played. Not
Okay,
against Solukia.
So it's a challenger showcase, right? We're trying to get an idea of what everybody does really well. What was playing with each other for the first time like? Where did you excel in communication or in lane? What did you like about playing with each other?
I mean, before the game even started, my ADC was already talking about playing like Tom Kench and Seraphine, so
Yes.
huge plus in my book, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I really like playing with them. I think like having a really good Senna player is really nice in draft because it opens up a lot of different possibilities, which is nice. I play a lot of different mages and tanks in the bot lane because I like to be edgy sometimes. So it's pretty fun when you get an experienced Senna player.
It struck me actually when I was reviewing pre-game ZKG that you are extraordinarily versatile in the bot lane. How long have you been playing the game?
Really long time since season 3.
Yeah, that's why I was like, "There's no way this guy is just like picking it up now." You clearly are comfortable with a lot. TDS, I know you had some questions lined up as well.
Yeah, I kind of have one for everyone, but I want to kind of start with Limo, because we talked about this while watching the game, where we're talking about the decision making from Viego to opting into the late of the Ring King and then opting into the Sunder. I saw something similar from your side where you opted into the Frozen Heart, which I think was extremely smart because the only way that you would die is if the AD damage kills you. Like, Syndra is scary, yes, but you will get much more attacked by AD damage there. So I'm kind of interested in knowing what you thought going in the game, but you were more scared as the Hecarim, and your decision making mostly when you were thinking about what would kill you and what would make you more effective in the game.
This is honestly just a build I stole from Malice.
Oh.
Frozen Heart, I've always thought Frozen Heart is a really overloaded item. I think it's really underutilized. Even coming into the game, I was wondering if my top laner was going to go it, just to make sure that I was able to go it. But I was really just thinking of Frozen Heart at Death Dance on second, because if they can't burst me when I engage, there's no way for them to win. They didn't really run any engage in their comp.
I think that that's overall smart, and it's the only way that I could see you just maybe not finding the value, just dying immediately. So I feel like overall great decision. And then the one that I had for everyone else was because we saw quite a few ultimates from CKG. Most of the time, just being the one that engages or forces the fight to happen from your side. So I'm kind of interested in knowing if the decision making was from someone else or it was a CKG just forcing the plays, and if you had other ideas to force plays to happen, which didn't happen, but would have loved to be able to pull it off, or would you ever go for the shot calling in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I was mainly calling like targets in fights, and our comp, the way it plays, we just kind of want to let the set make a mistake by like ulting the Sion in, and then our backline just kind of positions backwards, and then as their enemy comp tries to follow up on the set, they're just gonna line up, and I'm just gonna get like basically freeze ult to my life. There was like a few like 3 or 4 man ultis that just basically instant wins the game right there, just by the set making a mistake.
Yeah. We also talked about how, depending on their summoners, if they all flash up, it's really like there's no point of the Hecarim starting the engage rep. So if I ult in, they all flash out of the way, that's a free reset for them, or is that ulting me back into my team in the fight from that. So leading with Seraphine ult just really felt like the right call for engages.
Makes sense
I'm
overall
a,
to me.
I'm a big Seraphine player myself, so I was really happy to see such a busted champion on the Rift. I wanted to direct the next question at Nine Lives in Cyber, because ZKG, I don't see you joining us for the next game. I believe you'll be playing elsewhere in the Challenger Showcase. But for next game that we're going to be streaming over here on XLNC Esports, I wanted to get an idea from Nine Lives and oh my god, where's Limo? Is Limo actually on here?
I'm not playing in the next game, they just
Oh
swapped
no,
me
you're
out.
not.
Yeah,
You know what?
apologies.
That's
He
tragic.
was in there.
That's tragic.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
that's
then I'll ask Nine Lives. Going into the next game, I know that you're going to be playing with Juke Jouster again and Solidified up in the top side. What are some adaptations that you're going to try and make, or what sorts of play styles do you want to try and continue to showcase? Are you going to double down on this, or are you going to give us something different?
Well, I know the enemy support is also a big Senna player, and we don't have first pick, and I don't. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone that knows me already knows I play Senna really well, so I don't want to just keep picking it. Um, I want to play something else, and there's a couple of champions I have in mind
Okay. No strat
that I think
leaking.
will
It's
be
okay.
fun. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
gonna say which.
Okay. As much as I would love to know, we're all going to get the chance to find out, and I look forward to finding out from each of you where you'll end up in the upcoming season. Because Challenger Showcase is about hoping to get you guys on a team, and I know from the play that we saw today, and from a lot of you, the play that I've seen previously, you all definitely can look forward to finding a home with how amazing you have played. Thank you so much for joining us for the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, we're going to go back on a break, and when we come back, we'll be popping in with game 2 and some more Nine Lives action. back, ladies and gentlemen. We got even more challengers to showcase for you, and the games certainly have been interesting so far because game one was just a little while ways. GDS, we had a pretty good showing for most of our players. I dare say an excellent one, and the best part is that we got to keep some of them going into game two.
Yeah, some are returning here. Some have gone, not forgotten, not disappeared. Don't worry, we will see them soon enough. But with the players that are going to stay, that we're going to see once again, it's going to be fun seeing what we're going to get banned once again. We get Cillian and Fiora once again, thanks to the fact that we do have Hoarder is still in one of the sites as well as Solidified. So it just makes sense that we're banned away. I want to focus on the action because it's focused towards the ONAT. I think it's ONAT or ONAT for how it should be, but a mid laner that plays quite a lot of action and I think could play a lot of 80 mid laners. So it's something to keep our eyes on because it could be quite fun watching the mid lane matchup.
This is literally the opposite of what I was feeling in game one. Where I was like, "Yeah, I know what I've seen Zillion gameplay, I've seen Kazakh's gameplay, ban the one tricks." But this time, I'm like, "Darn! If only we could have seen a taste of that." Of course, as I
True.
said previously, if you want to keep up with these challenger players, definitely keep your eyes on where Onat ends
Ooh.
up going. But for right now, my eyes are fully focused on the Zeri that was just picked up for Soup Fan being pretty heavily punished for a Jin and a game that wasn't really his fault. Game two now brings us a Zeri where you can style as much as you like. You're not immobile, you are instead the biggest carry known to League of Legends today.
That may be true, but you can still just as easily get one-shotted by a Kha'Zix
Oh,
with a Yuumi. Okay, this is a combo that I hate to watch. Like, I hate to watch it. I hate to play it. I just think that it can be so fun, but at the same time, it can find so many avenues to destroy 80 carries. And we're not getting here. It's not Cyber or Nemo this time around. It's going to be Soul Dynasty that it's getting the Kha'Zix. So quite a fun pick up from the red team, and maybe he will be able to perform with the Kha'Zix quite effectively. Now, from the blue side, what would Cyber take against the Kha'Zix? I think
yep.
Lee one of the most quintessential champions against the Kha'Zix, maybe. And if you're able to shut down this Kha'Zix early on, he's just a bug that you can
This
squash.
de- This definitely fits inside of Cyber's wheelhouse as well.
Yeah.
I know that I was surprised by the Viego and still ultimately impressed by it from last game, but if you're going back to old tried and true Cyber, it is really those early game champions. And early game seems to be the name of the blue side in its entirety, especially since we've got a Nautilus. That being the only form of engage that's picked up in the first three champions still does leave room for some others to come through. But if you want to play an early
Oh,
game comp, you've already got a solid core here, and oh lord, it is going to be the invisible nightmare from the red side.
yeah. We're getting our version of Tom and Jerry on the Rift with a bug added
Ooh.
into it. This is going to be great. And I was thinking about the Twitch because I was watching some of the 80 carries that we had. I was seeing Subfan as maybe the one that pulls off the Twitch. But when you have a Yuumi, I can see Twitch being much more viable. And I'm quite excited because I don't think we have seen Twitch Suri matchups, if at all, if I'm honest. I don't think I've seen that at all. So it's going to be quite fun watching how it performs and how effective this Twitch becomes because you don't really need to play lane with Twitch. You can stay there for a couple of levels, and once you get level 6 with your invisibility, move around the map with the Yuumi, and you become a gank squad essentially with the Twitch and the Yuumi.
Yeah, it's really exciting stuff, but is something that needs to snowball. And with
Yeah.
both of these teams opting into pretty early game comps so far. Maybe a little bit more CC on blue side, a little bit more damage on red side. It is going to be a flashy demonstration of these players' abilities, a lot like we had on the top side just last game. And we haven't even looked at top yet. We don't even know
Yeah.
what Hoarder and Solidified are going to be pulling out. The one thing that we do know for sure is that they're going to be fighting.
Yeah, since we already got a taste of what they will be able to pull off this time around, I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of the same thing. Importantly, Zion taking away, which means that we're open to potential Bruiser B Bruiser matchup. Now, I hope we don't get Camille banned away because I think that would be quintessential Bruiser B matchup champion here. But it would be the ban that makes the more sense because she's one of the most blindable champions that you can make effective of, and I think that that's why the Jax ban is hovered or put on. It's because it's one of the champions that you don't really want to play as the Camille most of the time. So this signifies to me that Hoarder wants to go for the Camille, or not Hoarder, Solidified wants to go for the Camille.
I think that Blue Side should be picking up on that as well. I do wonder whether Order actually gets another ban to help him out, or whether it's just, hey, we already took away the Scion. Now you've got to make whatever it is
Yeah.
work. Camila does get taken away, and I like that the rest of Blue Team are acknowledging how crucial the top lane matchup can be. Thank God it was even last time, and what you talked about is a relatively unpunishing matchup. But this time, with the champion pool even further narrowed, whoever wins topside does have the ability to snowball it through the entire map, and that's if the rest of the map isn't already snowballing to be brought up to topside.
Yeah, and opting into the Syndra once again, I think that to bring balance to things that need to be really effective, really powerful early on. And I feel like Syndra, yes, she's not a champion that essentially shines through and it's the most scaling of champions, but she's a mage that can come in when it matters, and
Mhm.
she will get control over the wave, which I think it's primordial for having these Kha'Zix have a good time. Now, I do think that for the red side, with the first 3 picks that they have drafted for themselves, you have to commit to getting aggressive. So I would hope that they opt into an aggressive top laner that they can make the most out of. Blue side opting into Kai'Sa, so a lot of mid game potential, a lot of 2 item spikes with the Seri, with the Kai'Sa, with the Lee Sin as well. And what will they opt here in the top lane? Like, yes, Sion is banned away, but you can look for Ornn as well if you want to. Like, Ornn is not a bad option. Then again, I think Hoarder is not going to go for the tanks. He's all
No.
going to opt into the Bruiser, if I'm honest.
I mean, there's so much damage on the Rift. Why not just add that little bit more? There's an immense amount of burst from both sides, more so from the red side than anything else. But Kai'Sa is going to be a pretty good answer to that when she gets a nice amount of ability power stacked up. The Syndra is an interesting pickup from Juke Jouster, specifically because Juke Jouster went against the Syndra in game one. Now we get to see
Yeah.
not the opposite side of a matchup, but see him try his hand at a mage that is able to get a little bit more lane priority, especially in this matchup, and how that translates into hopeful mid jungle synergy. Because, well, Duke Jouster had a pretty good time synergizing with Cyber last time, and it looks like we are getting a little bit more damage, just pulling us back up
Yeah.
towards that top side.
Yeah, and staying with the Bruiser, true to the Bruiser, true to the split pushing potential. But Trinity is a champion that I don't know why slipped my mind when I was thinking potential, just aggressive top laner. So I like the pick, I like the aggressiveness, and I like that it synergizes quite well with the idea of just going and killing the enemy as effectively as possible. If you go in as the Tryndamere and the Nautilus follows up, the Lee Sin follows up, Kai'Sa can follow up as well, Seri as well. So all in all, if you're going to engage, this blue team composition can actually follow up on an engaged potential, which I quite like. If you're going to opt into that, follow the theme. Same from the red side. I think Yumi, Twitch, Kha'Zix can kind of follow up on things, but ooh,
Oh, oh my god, is it going to be the single tank in the game? The one person who can actually sustain through all of the burst? It just might be.
yeah.
Malphite's really nice into
Ooh.
Tryndamere and has an amazing impact on the rest of the game as well.
Yeah, and I think that for this game where you have a series that will be such a nuisance with her mobility and the like, and Kai'Sa that will poke the living hell out of a lot of champions, I think that having a strong rock, quite literally, is going to be important to just survive a lot of the burst, like you're pointing out. And even though Kai'Sa and Suri to a certain degree also have mobility because of their E, you have a flash ultimate in the form of Malphite that it's pretty hard to escape from. And then with the follow up from the Twitch, from the Yumi, and even the Kha'Zix, I can see a wombo potential out of the red team, which I'm not against. I quite like the idea. The only kind of problem that I may find, or the only thing that I may point out from the red team, is that this is a composition that Malphite may not find himself being in a great place here. And what I mean by that is that you have Kha'Zix, Yumi, and Twitch, and you pointed this out. They need to try and snowball themselves so that their value just spikes way out of control. Malphite doesn't really care about that. Like, he can just survive and he will find value. But if the rest of the team is in a bad spot and he is in a neutral spot, then his value kind of plummets quite heavily because no one can follow up on him correctly. He will just go in and eventually die because his team cannot follow up to kill someone else.
And it puts a lot of pressure on Soul in the jungle to
Yeah.
actually make this Kha'Zix work, to get that snowball going, because you've picked yourself a matchup in topside that, like you already illustrated, is very stable. I look towards these junglers, and when picking Kha'Zix into Cyber especially, the pressure is on. Soul is
Yeah.
absolutely the focus of this early game, and Juke Jouster is going to have to do whatever is humanly possible to keep this Kha'Zix alive, healthy, happy, and with priority in the mid lane. Blue team, on the other hand, their win conditions are a little bit more sparse. They can go bot side. They can commit to helping this Zeri out. They could try and get some nice kills on an immobile Syndra in the mid lane. They could just try and funnel all of it, every lane priority, whatever they can get, into helping this
Into
Lee Sin
Trigger.
in duels against the Kha'Zix, and I'm not sure where they'll go.
Yeah, like their options are quite interesting. I feel like for the blue team, I can kind of see them just opting into the cruise until 15 or
Mhm.
until 20 when you get 2 items and you just spike out of control and try and go into a fight because equal for blue team is unequal for red team. They will
Mhm.
be in a good spot if they are with equal gold, if they are on the blue side. But on the red side, if they are on equal gold, it's not going to find the same body. So I think that blue team doesn't really need to force themselves. They just need to ride the wave and try and get towards that spot where Kai'Sa just pokes infinitely. Seri has the Titanic Hydra with the Trinity Force if
Oh,
she
yeah.
opts into that, or if she just goes Creed, 2 item spike Creed Seri is quite good as well. And Tryndamere just making the most out of the side lane because when you think about it as well, who is going to put up front, put against the Tryndamere in the side lane? Like, yes, the Malphite will do his job, but he will eventually get out damaged by the
Mhm.
Tryndamere, even if he doesn't want to. And with Hull Breaker, he cannot stop the split pushing, which I'm kind of scared as well against this Tryndamere.
It is all about that eventuality for the blue
Yeah.
side, and I approached this game with a hesitant curiosity. Mid game, though, definitely belonging to the red side with the amount of invisibility, burst, and just annoying things that they can pull off, popping Yumi onto almost anybody and increasing their burst by so much more. Things are going to be very scary when you're a squishy member of the blue team. When you are on just that single item, whether you're the Lee Sin, the Kai'Sa, or the Zeri, one misposition can cost you your life, and against relatively limited data, a lot of this is going to come down to the vision game as well. And that's where I'm thinking of Sunbay because the Nautilus in this game isn't going to be able to withstand a lot of burst. It's mostly going
Yep.
to be a, hey, we happen to find a casual engage, but vision is the most important thing. And with only one pink ward that you can supply, it's going to be Sunbay relying on everybody else, throwing down the communication for how they want to wage the vision war, because otherwise, red team just have so many ways to destroy you from angles that you literally can't see.
Yeah, I feel like creativity wise, it's going to be quite fun to watch. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Creativity wise, it's going to be quite fun watching how the side of the red team plays because they can come from almost any angle and make something happen. Like vision, if they have vision advantage, their playing potential is going to be so great. Like you can see a Twitch coming from one side with the Kha'Zix, the
Mhm.
Malphite coming from behind, and if you're squashed into a bad spot, bye bye, teammate is over. So it's actually quite fun to see how the vision game will not only impact the outcome of most fights, but the overall outcome of essentially the game, which it's going to be quite great to see. I also want to point out that fortunately, if you're a zombie are relying on being able to put down the vision for your team, at least it's a champion that if he sees someone, he can press the go button and try and go for the kill immediately. Which
Mhm.
for the blue team, I think that it's quite ideal because if you see this, the Kha'Zix, the Twitch, the Yumi, even champions that are not that tanky, he can just go for the squish, try and kill them as soon as possible, and they don't find anybody at all.
It's going to be something that is decided in a matter of seconds, though. These team fights, these small skirmishes around the map, keep your eyes on mid priority, and of course, keep your eyes on Soul, as we already illustrated.
Yep.
Debuting with this Kha'Zix is going to be a really exciting thing. Juke Jouster's got a lot of my curiosity, and honestly, if we were to talk about everybody who I'm interested in seeing, we'd just be running through all 10 names because that's the whole point of a Challenger Showcase is to see what the highest level these guys can perform at is and what they look like with a new group of 5 members going into game 2. We are going to take a short break before we pop into Summoner's Rift, though, as draft does get underway. We'll meet you guys on the Rift with all of the champions, all of the excitement, all of the action here at the Challenger Showcase. Welcome back to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. Game 2 on the horizon here at the Challenger Showcase. A reminder, of course, if you're just tuning in, that we've not just got this stream, but 3 others going on. Go ahead and check them out, and our mods in the Twitch chat will be more than happy to direct you to all of the Challenger action around Twitch right now. But at the moment, TDS, I think it's only fair that we focus in on what's happening on this very Summoner's Rift, this iteration, because we've got a 5-man invade going for blue side, and for a team that is just recently learned that they were playing together as 5 members, this is pretty coordinated, though it doesn't find too much.
I still respect it. I love watching level 1s. Work or not, it's fun to see creativity trying to be achieved and trying to get an advantage early on. So, nice attempt. It doesn't work out like you point out, but it's still a nice attempt to pull off, and it doesn't really take away from anything. Also, I want to point out quickly before we move into the, I think the biggest thing that we need to talk about, that ping ward that 9 Lives just put down there. Yumi is an interesting champion in the sense that she obviously can go for summoners without actually opting into flash, but she also doesn't quite need pots. Like, you can get traded on quite effectively. That's a thing that can happen against almost every support. But I think that this is a smart idea, especially because this is not a lane that you're supposed to win anyway or be able to trade effectively anyway. So I think that this just allows for much power for your Kha'Zix, which I think it's what they should be playing around for.
Oh, we're thinking about vision. It's worth noting that Cyber was also spotted up top side. 9 lives. Definitely getting pretty aggressively traded on as the Yumi. As you illustrated, we'll be able to sustain through that, even though at level 1, I'm pretty scared when Yumi does pop in. Or rather, when IA get traded on as the Yumi. However, the big thing that I thought we were going to talk about, TDS, was the fact that we got a Zeri mid.
Yeah, I don't think no one expected that to be the case. And I love talking about the potential flex picks that we may see. But I love watching the Zeri mid. I'm actually an enthusiast of the potential from the Zeri mid. I don't think we have seen quite yet what she can do. The thing is that she's so effective in the AD carry position, and you sometimes lack from the mid lane the value that some other mid laners may give you than the Zeri. So that's why I don't think we typically see it. But I think that this game can work quite well, particularly because matchup against the Kai'Sa Syndra matchup would have been much worse for the Kai'Sa. She doesn't get any pressure, she cannot get any type of push, she would just get bullied around by the Syndra early on, which I think works against what they would like to do with the Lee Sin. With the Zeri, you do have much more potential to go in the lane. Yes, you may get poked, but you have much more mobility, and the damage from the Zeri doesn't necessarily come from just out attacks, but her abilities in the queue and then her passives, which I think can put a lot of pressure on the Syndra.
Yeah, it's been working out so far. Duke Jouster hasn't been able to get the mid lane prio that they expected, but a very nice long-range hook from Sunbay starts to deal some damage to 9 lives in the bot lane. Unfortunately, extending into the Yumi Twitch is not the recipe for success that you were hoping for, and we've got likely a dead Soup fan as well. One last auto would have done it. Well, one last auto as well as the Contaminate, but that was pretty darn terrifying, and is only going to get scarier up here on the top side, where Solidified is looking for a solo kill onto Hoarder. Uno reverse carding what happened last game. Mana's low for the Malphite, but do we still go for it? Soul Dynasty has actually found Cyber inside of the jungle, doesn't hop over the wall onto him just yet. Cyber is able to stay alive using the flash. Hoarder and Solidified going at it once again. Hoarder gets taken down by the minions post the flash, and Sunbay finds another hook onto the Yumi in the bot lane, and potentially deadly one last auto does it. Sunbay picks up the kill, and now we've got so much lockdown on Soul Dynasty that they're finally forced to jump away.
Yeah, so 9 Lives sacrificing himself there for the play. I can just guess that they decide of the red team try to go a little bit too far forward to force into Cyber. Cyber doesn't have flash, which means that they try to go for the kill, they don't get it, and it means that even though they took out the flash out of Cyber, they end up losing the Yumi. All in all, I think a much better positive trade for the red team. You get the solo kill in top lane, which I don't think you would expect so early on. I feel like Hoarder playing a little bit much more aggressive than he needs to, and this is also one of the reasons that you pick the Malphite, because he can survive against the Tryndamere, but it's also harder to get a solo kill against the Malphite. So working out quite well.
It sets back the sort of timeline of the Trendemir as well, because when you pick Trend, you promise yourself that in the late game, you're going to be a monster. But
Yeah.
that late game just got later because now you've got this additional utility that Malphite has against you, because you're going to have less access to farm in the next couple minutes when the lane state becomes even, and Malphite's able to harass you with a lot more confidence. So I look forward to seeing how this plays out, but Solidified definitely showing us that game one win, not necessarily a fluke, is really able to pilot himself back to the solo kills in this particular case. Urasan going on a roam for right now on the Twitch could be very deadly, especially if Onat doesn't expect it, having recently expended the teleport on the Zeri.
And already quite strong when you think about it. Oh,
Sunbay is likely dead. There are 3 people there. Sunbay doesn't have flash. Sunbay is muy muerto. And I am sad to say it, but Nautilus will not be joining us here. In charge of the vision does come with its risks.
Yeah, and Nautilus is a tank, so you typically feel much more safe about going for those kind of trips with the vision. But when you're alone against 3, it is harder to survive, especially level 3. Great, so oh wait,
I mean, Solidified's level 6. Hoarder is not. Got to get that
the
minion, but
flash even.
unfortunately,
Ooh.
no minions are even close to dying. The XP likely not getting closer as well. And again, we set ourselves back a few minutes.
Yeah, and I feel like we barely saw Malphite getting affected. If I'm honest, like
Soul Dynasty's dead. That's just goodbye. That's just the burst damage that we talked about.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about it as a Kaisa Lee Sin, but Zeri Lee Sin works just as well, especially with the level 6 for Zeri. Popping back into the lane, though. We know that ult's not available. Onat may just have to flash away, but a very creative use of the Spark Surge gets him out with really no trouble.
Yeah, in the words of the office, parkour, it just happened. They ran away. Nobody gets hurt. And nice attempt by the bot lane away. Okay, they should be fine here. Oh, wait.
Yarasan now being hooked up, ignited as well, doesn't quite burn down.
He's
Soul
alive?
Dynasty arrives in time. This Kha'Zix is everywhere. Whether it be in the top lane, unfortunately going down to a setup gank, or down on the bot side. Seems like things aren't going too poorly for the red team, despite the fact that we've definitely got a power point in the mid lane with Onat and Cyber doing their best to keep this game afloat. Red side are continuing the snowball.
Yeah, we do have a power point with that 2v2 in the form of Cyber, with that 2-man carry potential in the form of Cyber and Onat. But I do gotta say that even though Juke Joster has been quiet, farming quite effectively, we haven't yet seen the potential of the Syndra. Like, at any point, if Kha'Zix comes in, you can get a really simple solo kill onto the Seri. Like, Seri can survive, but she's also 180 carry, which means that she's an squishy champion that you can actually delete quite effectively. And on the point of Soul Dynasty as well, I want to point out that I've actually been quite impressed in how he's moved around the map, because it feels like even though sometimes he dies, he's always on the right moment for the play to be pulled off, which I think is such an important advantage for a jungler to have in most instances of fights in the game.
Being able to come back now, starting to pay attention towards the top side. Doesn't have the backup to start at the Rift Herald the same way as Blue Team did. Soul Dynasty's getting over there, and Onat spots him out with another very nice movement. Clearly practiced on this Zeri mid.
Yeah.
I don't think Blue Team have anything to fear, but Soul Dynasty begs to differ. Cyber already
Oh,
level
the
6,
ulti.
can commit, but instead gets stunned up, taken down before he has a chance to participate. Onat and Hoarder desperately want to disengage right now. Urasan looking for some way to start a fight, or rather continue it with a little bit of burst damage, but instead it will be largely the disengage, just the one kill going over to the side of red, but Rift Herald picked up by Hoarder.
Yeah, so 1 kill for Rift Herald. Important that it's on Hoarder, I feel, because I think that that's the champion that you want to give gold into. Not because it's going to snowball him much more effectively. It's one of the reasons, but mainly because he needs to get back on track to try and be that monster that we expect later on, right? And the fact that he's already 202 means that he needs the gold influx much more than almost any other champion in the map.
The next little while, 3 minutes, 20 seconds to be exact, we'll be getting the Dragon back up. And if Rift Herald's still available by then, there's actually a world where Hoarder can very quickly catapult themselves back into this game.
Yep.
By using that Rift Herald in place of being fed, as you would have liked to be on the Trendemir. Big question mark, though, is Soul Dynasty at this point. 3-1 and nothing. You've got a lot of gold on the Kha'Zix, more than most people on this Rift. Actually, thank you, producer. Most in not quite the most in the game, but still, the snowball potential from the jungle is going to be pretty darn terrifying. We just need Soul Dynasty to actually be able to clinch out a few of these assassinations when we do get to those team fights.
Especially at this point where he gets the first upgrade from his ultimate, it's quite an important timing because it means that he's going to not only be able to deal quite a lot of damage, he will get a lot of value out of that. Play from Mirazon.
Oh, they're just bullying Sunbay, forcing the flash, still getting the root. Surely this kill goes down, but ultimate does get committed, and even so, Sunbay ends up falling. There is some serious trouble in the bot side for Blue, as Cyber very quickly finds out trying to come in to assist.
Yeah, that was a little bit scary from Cyber. If he gets collapsed there, he can die. The lucky thing for Cyber there was that they committed everything to get the kill onto Sunbay, which means that there was hardly anything left to try and go for the losing kill. Still, they get the kill, another kill for the Twitch. The Dragon is still yet to be up, which means that this kill that the Twitch gets, I think, should mean that he gets his first item before the Dragon, pretty much. And that is actually a really important power spike, because now the Twitch is not only going to hit quite heavily, there's not a lot of items that can survive against this burst potential from the Twitch.
And even Zeri right now, Ona at the point of strength for Blue side, doesn't have even first mythic, doesn't have a kill, doesn't really have that much gold to speak of. So as we do approach this next dragon, it's going to be even more difficult for, say, Onat to pop off than it will be for Soul Dynasty or Urasan. But still a lot of questions about how it'll end up playing out. Hoarder biding their time, waiting for the proper moment to unleash this Rift Herald and potentially to take another trade, although we're seeing that Frozen Heart come in again. Solidified definitely taking advantage of the data we got through the interview now, and we're just getting some plates, I guess. We are just getting some plates.
Wait, okay, he's fine. Yeah, just using it there. Probably, I have to guess that the timing is about to expire. It's almost time for the Dragon as well, so kind of surprised. Also important to notice that Solidify didn't have teleport, which means that if that fight was going to happen, or if they were going to try and put a lot of members down there, there was bound to be the lane going to be left alone, which I think for Hoarder would have been much more ideal. But it doesn't end up happening. They use the Rift Herald and achieve just a little bit of gold influx into the Tryndamere, not the potential that we expected originally.
Now, Solidify doesn't have teleport to join into this potential dragon fight, so Red would normally like to delay it. We'll see what their actual play is. With two people roaming down towards this bot side, Soul and Juke Jouster are setting up the play. I do wonder whether it's one where they try and take down the bot side or one where they try and burst the dragon. Your call is exactly right, TDS. We are going all Drake all the time, and for Infernal, it only makes sense. This is going to give even more damage to an already terrifying comp.
Yeah, and this kind of call is something that you can pull off thanks to the Kha'Zix. It's one of those champions that if you leave alone with an objective, it's going to die. 100%. It's almost dead. So I like the call. I also gotta say that I like the call from the side of the blue team because you don't need to fight every objective. Like, I understand that it's actually scary when you think about the prospect of giving an Infernal Drake to a team, but it's not always.
Oh, Cyber! Nice. Oh my god! Juke Jouster does have the flash, but as you and I know, it does not matter after a play like that. That is a highlight reel performance and exactly what you want to see in the Challenger Showcase.
Yeah, and the kind of play that we expected, especially after seeing both Cyber and Onat be kind of the ones that are trying to look for the plays, looking for a play on the mid lane. We talk about how Juke Jouster has not have yet the impact that we have expected out of this game. He has been a little bit quiet, so opting into trying to shut down the mid lane or try and put him out of plays, give the potential kill to the Zeri, which doesn't happen, but still, you're getting a nice advantage, and you're delaying the Syndra from being able to achieve much, because she has yet to reach level 11, she doesn't have a lot of plates to her name either, and it's not like she's finding a lot of value either.
Order getting a little bit more confident now that we've got Blade of the Ruined King online.
Interesting choice.
You do have a Yeah, a little bit better of a chance of taking down the Malphite. I suppose it is a cheaper power spike, right? And we already saw this once today.
Oh,
Onat, though, this is not a fight that Yurson wanted to take. There's a lot of income, a lot of burst on this Zeri, and even without the Mythic. Now you've got Soul Dynasty on top of you, flash away, and the hook onto the Kha'Zix, but it doesn't matter. Soul Dynasty is able to answer back, is able to assassinate in the most crucial of moments. Solidify should be able to carry 9 lives to safety. Doesn't have the ultimate anymore, but is Malphite. Red team end up holding on, but that was a really, really cool play onto Onat from Soul, and it does cost Yurasan and Soul their life.
Yeah, and great timing by Sombe, being in the right place at the right time. Importantly as well, if we can quickly look at the river, there's vision for the red team, but he played around the windows, the small windows that didn't show Sombe, which means that they didn't expect Sombe at all. I like the idea from Twitch and 9lives. I think that it was going to be smart, but great reaction by Sombe, flashing in, saving the Onat, and if you are not able to burst out the Seri quick enough, then you're simply going to end up dying by the Seri because she can reposition herself so quickly and turn around the fight.
And notice what's happening, not just with the Zeri, but with, oh my lord, with the Zeri. With Onat and Juke Jouster down in this bot side. Scat of the week is short a hit, but now Onat hasn't been burst down just yet. Ursan and Soul are here to finish the job, and Soul ends up collecting the kill. 4-2 now on this Kha'Zix, a terrifying proposition and continually a thorn in the side of Blue.
Yeah, and even though they do give away the shutdown previously from the Kha'Zix, it's still a Kha'Zix. Like he is 4-2 still. He has the I don't know why I always blank on the names of these items, but yeah, he has that, and he's able to now just impact much more against the Kai'Sa. So I think that we saw a glimpse of that in the mid lane, where he jumped in, he used the item, then went on top of the Seri, almost one-shotted her completely, and was able to almost survive as well. So it's going to be much more prevalent in the future fights, and when you have to take into consideration the Twitch, the Malphite, even the Yuumi ultimate coming in, it's going to be much easier for the Kha'Zix to just come out of nowhere and delete you.
I'm pretty excited, though, as we come up on the 16, almost 20-minute mark very soon for the second item that Soulfan is going to pick up, because though this isn't mid Kai'Sa, it is still AP Kai'Sa. Yeah. And we are going to get some really slapping Void Seekers across the Rift. With Hoarder desperately trying to escape from Solidified. He is down a level, but does have the ultimate up. Solidified is unlikely to chase out of the tower. It's a little bit of posturing up in top side.
Yeah, he's just putting his foot down and showing who's the boss of the top lane right now. It's a rock that is commanding what is happening, and sadly for Hoarder, he's going to take a little bit more time to get to that spot. I'm pretty sure that he's not going to opt into the Kraken Slayer. That would help him to kill the Malphite. I think that this game having the Gale Force would be better because you're trying to kill Twitch and Kha'Zix, which has escape tools that you typically don't have to face again. So I feel like you do have to opt into the Gale Force if you're the Tryndamere.
A nice selection for the moment. First Mythics already completed on Cyber and Onat, the real core of the mid game for the blue side at the moment. Tell red side are searching for the fight. They are about to be on Soul Point if they can secure this Ocean Dragon, but Onat and Cyber have got something to say about it. Juke Jouster goes down now. You're fighting a 4v5. Onat goes low, but doesn't go down. The Ignite's still taken away, but he walks right into Soul and gets deleted. Cyber not going to be too much luckier as Prowler's Claw right on top of him ends up sealing his demise. Solidified picking up the kill, and now we go from what was a 4v5 in favor of blue side to a you know what I'm saying. They're in a numbers disadvantage. Too much math.
Yeah, it's quick maths. It's bad. It's fine if we cannot guess it. What we can guess is that mid lane turret will more than likely die. I don't think Twitch Yuumi can protect this, although they are using ultimate. Yeah, I'm not sure why you opt into this. There's no chance that you can protect this 100%, but they still get the dragon, Soul Point obtained, and it's Ocean Soul. With a Yuumi, it's going to be quite a bothersome soul to try and play against. I think Mountain would have been the worst because of the Malphite, but at this point I think Ocean is the second worst possibly for the blue team.
You can already tell that this game is going to get more and more difficult. Malphite being ahead is making the life of Solfan so much harder as well. Barely tickling with that Void Seeker, the exoskeleton, if we can even call it that, of the giant rock. Yurasan is continuing to grab more farm as well, and though 30 CS just behind Solfan, it largely hasn't mattered because there's so much burst coming from people like Juke Jouster, coming from people like Soul, that Solfan can't approach the fight anyway.
Yeah, he has to essentially try and bide his time to get to those 2-item power spikes where he can actually find value. Solidify trying to find the kill, he's just doing what he has been doing, trying to put pressure onto the Tryndamere. But this is important value, like, as long as Tryndamere doesn't actually find anything to do in the map, ooh,
Nice
Herald.
smite.
Yeah, great timing. Denying this Reef Herald is actually important as well, to not give an opportunity for this Zard to die eventually if they do get the chance to force this. And just to finish my point on the Tryndamere, like, Tryndamere's value falls into what he can create, the mess that he can create that you have to put your attention into. And the fact that Tryndamere has not yet find that, it's quite important for the side of the red team. Like, yes, he took down the top lane turret, but I feel like that's the bare minimum that you expect out of the Tryndamere. So the fact that, oh wait, Soul Dynasty.
Really scary on this Kha'Zix, as we've already illustrated time and time again. Is going
That
to be the
was
one thing that
scary to
continues
see.
to change the game state.
Still there, wow. I'm a little bit scared because I feel like he can die if he overextends, but at the same time, if they get baited too heavily, then they can get killed as well. Which, it's kind of the scary proposition at this point with Kha'Zix on a 2-item power spike.
And if you don't have vision at this point, it's not just Kha'Zix that you have to be afraid of. People like Yurasan, who's walking around with the Yuumi attached to them almost permanently. Lots of burst on this Twitch. And very little vision available for blue side. Sunday, recognizing that you got to turn and fight, is going to go for it, but Yurasan opens up with an ult from the side, and the Juke Jouster goes down. It is ultimately Nat that jumps right on top of this Twitch, finally finishing off the kill just in the nick of time. The forced, the cornered animal finally turns around, and it is blue side that will come out on top of the team fight. The rival of Soul Dynasty, Sunday, melts, and the kills are equalized 2-4-2. And this is a very swingy, very action-packed game we've got going.
Yeah, and it's a 2-for-2, but with numbers disadvantage. We need to remember that it was a fight before because Malphite wasn't a part of it, right? Like, Malphite came in at the end and then he cleaned up. But I want to give so much props to Soul Dynasty for that last Prowler's Claw, using it to get in front of the Nautilus, denying the hook and then getting the kill. That was so crisp. Like, it's an interaction that I feel like a lot of players maybe can pull up, but it's still so nice to see. And these 2 kills also mean that they get mid lane turret and can find, once again, avenues to get vision control for the Baron buff.
Soul has impressed us today, that is to be certain. With that Baron starting to open up, the vision that you illustrated becomes even more important. And unfortunately, blue side have less and less tools to actually be able to contest it. The nice thing is that we've hit around 22 minutes. We've got the second item on Hoarder finally. And with second items actually just stacking up all across the board, we are eventually going to get to a place where your Zeri is unkillable, where your Kai'Sa is bursting out more than half your HP, and where you can't challenge Hoarder in a side lane. It's just a matter of outlasting for a blue side more than anything.
Yeah, I feel like the coming fight is going to be one of the most crucial fights that we may see in the game if it falls into a 5v5 fight, or at least a large number fight, because we're going to finally see the Kai'Sa getting impact. Like, she has 2 items complete finally, she will get value out of her W, and this is the spot where we are truly going to see if the game is going to finally turn in favor of the blue team, especially because we have 20 seconds till the last dragon. There's no vision control for the red team, which means that they can get it. That is a lot of damage. That needs to be careful.
Tough. Low cooldown on this as well, but Soul Dynasty finds Sunbay, not isolated in this case, so he gets to keep more of his health bar, but now flashless and isolated with Yurasan. more a matter of buying time than anything, and I'm not
Oh,
sure that
Hoarder?
even that can happen. Hoarder tries to find Juke. Jouster doesn't have the gap closed with that Gale Force, having instead opted for the Kraken Slayer, but Yurasan is maybe dying on the other side. Soul Dynasty tries to find Soul Fan, but doesn't quite do it as Cyber finds the kick onto Juke. Jouster kicking him right into Hoarder, instead finishing off the kill himself. It is a 1-for-1 at the moment. Sunbay is down. Juke, Jouster, Soul Dynasty, and Yurasan all fall, and somehow, by separating the fight, Blue create multiple skirmishes out of the 5v5 and win it.
Yeah, divide and conquer. It's how the blue team is playing, and they still keep going.
Solidified is very tanky though. I don't know how this goes. Onat may just fall, needs to get out over the wall. The Cyber does give you that little bit of extra shield. Now 9 lives, despite the fact that they are a cat, will not actually be rezzing in time to help the rest of the team contest the Drake. It's instead blue side that land on their feet, and in a very cool way as well. Cyber and Hoarder crucially splitting up the resources of red team.
Yeah, and this is the instances where we see that we're playing, that these are teams that are playing without knowing each other quite well. I feel like this is the kind of showing that we get from this kind of team, from these kind of events where you don't really know the other players, because that was a dividing situation where you separate a lot of the members, but not only you separate them, you leave your important members alone. We see Urazon going against Sunbay alone on the side, which as a Twitch, it's not ideal to leave him alone. The rest of the members were focusing on the Tryndamere that was going on to Juke Jouster. And I feel like if Tryndamere commits so heavily for the Syndra at this point, it's not that bad if she dies. But your Twitch is a lot of your damage. You do need to keep him alive. You need to make him be valuable, and you cannot allow for him to die. I was expecting that they would collapse on Sunbay since Sunbay was alone, and they could have gotten the kill quite easily. But getting baited by the Tryndamere ends up paying the price. They get a complete ace, they get the dragon, and they get the gold lead back in their favor from the blue team.
The most important thing. Game continues to be relatively even. The burst is still something that will haunt both sides, except for Solidified, who is pretty darn comfortable at the moment. Saw some exceptional performances from everyone just that last fight. If we can get Yurasan on the right end of it, we may actually have one that Red end up winning in short order. With the Baron up, there's never been a better time to win a team fight. We've still got 3 minutes till the Dragon. Plenty of time to set up the vision around this big purple worm, and maybe, just maybe, yourself in a position to win the game.
Yurasan really threading the needle with invisibility to try and find a pick or find someone to kill. This is quite risky by Soul Dynasty. Luckily, no one was in position to respond, but this could have been a game-defining jump if someone else is there.
That's the ward.
Oh!
Yeah, there we go. That's the ward that I was talking about. The ward that both keeps Soul safe and makes sure that Soup Fan is dead. Q lands, but it is more ceremonial than anything, as Cyber is not going to commit to this fight. Instead, you're going to end up losing too. Cyber instead committing to the fight up against Yurasan, uses that Gore Drinker, tries to land the next Q, but the flash away from Yurasan saves him, and now puts him in position to help the rest of his team take the Baron.
Yeah, and importantly, since Seri is on the bot side, she has teleport to join up, but Lee Sin doesn't seem to be quite fond of that play. Now, Syndra back, which means that if they opt in to try to fight the Baron buff, Syndra would not be able to join up. They seem to not be into that. I respect the decision making, especially with 2 members dead, but it means that it's going to be Baron buff for the red team. This may be the push that they need to finally cross over the line and maybe be able to finish the game. But I want to touch on something really quickly, because it's something that you talked about before we even started the game on draft. Vision control. That ward right there in the bush, near in the blue side jungle, crucial, because that defines the pick onto Soup Fan. It means that Soul Dynasty can just jump in, get the kill, and it's such an easy jump from killing the Kai'Sa into then killing Sunbay. Great transition, great decision making, great usage of vision control, and it means that they are now in the lead once again. Or not in gold, but with the Baron buff.
Exactly. They've got this little bit of tempo that they can use, and there's an interesting answer being thrown at them by blue side. Onat in the side lane, again, after having been there previous to the Baron buff play, and now returning, is forcing multiple people to answer on the Zeri. We've got the same thing going on in bot side, and it feels like the 1-3-1, though a little bit unorthodox with this composition, is the thing that's keeping blue team in this game.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you would see that if it was the Kai'Sa mid instead of the Seri mid, which I think it makes sense, but it's also understandable why we're seeing it. Hoarder alone on the side.
Keep in mind, we do have the Undying Rage available and a nicely timed usage of it as well. So the life of Hoarder will be preserved, but how much is it worth without being able to defend the side lane towers? We've already seen this guy can duel it out, but at the moment, seems like preserving Soupfan's life is the most important. Trying desperately to get a kill back, doesn't quite find it. Yurson does go down, but Onat has arrived. There's the time for the Malphite ultimate. Soul Dynasty's right back in it. The shutdown's onto Cyber, and Onat is lucky to escape with his life over the wall.
Yeah, he had to use everything to be able to run away, but he gets out. Importantly still, I want to point out Juke Juster. Great two-man stun, finally utilizing the Syndra, something that I think we've lacked from Juke Juster in this particular game, but it matters when you are able to do it in a game-defining moment, and I feel like that is it, because it's not only the inhibitor that you're getting. Dragon timing is up, which means that you're getting soul thanks to that play. Great timing, great play from Juke Juster, gaining them the soul, and importantly, putting themselves even more close towards gaining the game win, which I think it's crucial for the red team.
It is almost a done deal at this point as well. Look across the rift, and we don't have grievous wounds. The snowball that began early for red has been so quiet, so understated, but has also had so much of its value packed into Soul Dynasty that really, whenever we're not seeing this Kha'Zix assassinating somebody, the game is feeling even. It's when we get into these fights and we see Soul Dynasty able to use that flash, that Prowler's Claw, these instant repositions to hurriedly burst someone down that team fights are starting to get out of control. And you don't see this from every Kha'Zix. You don't see this from even every jungle player. Whatever the assassin champion, this is unique to Soul Dynasty, the ability to actually pull off these upsets. And right now, oh lord, we're getting another duo play. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, like you walked in as an AD carry, it's bound to happen that you get bursted out. Still, it's once again Onat and Cyber. They're the two players that have been trying to put the playmaking on their side to try and make it so that the game doesn't feel that really unbalanced for the right side of the red team. Still, really nice pickup. Killing the Twitch means that the red team cannot push their advantage that they just got much more effectively, and it also means that they're going to delay the game towards potentially the Elder Dragon, which, even though you do have the soul, if by some chance you do get Elder Dragon, there's 100% of a chance for you to turn around the game.
Yeah, blue team can certainly scrap it out, and with the burst that they already have, Elder Dragon would likely put an end to the game in their favor. It's a matter about lasting until that point, because red team are looking for a fight, and Solidified is the one to start it. Got 9 lives on him as well, and with this both engage and follow-up lockdown that can come through, you got to be a little bit worried about the potential to be caught out of position as any member of the blue side. Even Cyber, who right now has just realized that he's spotted on vision. We've got Onat around here at the same time. Flash is not available for Solidified, but he does get that little bit of speed up. Onat, oh lord, thought we were going to engage there, but ended up having just enough space.
I feel like he was scared potentially from just the jump from the Suri, because they know that the Suri has no flash from the previous fight that they won, which it's kind of a thing that you have to consider, especially when you're trying to go for the Suri. But oh wait,
We're going to watch Onat, see how this plays out. We're not actually on the Titanic Hydra just yet. Onat stopped off for the Grievous Wounds to try and combat this Soul. Everything is being pumped into this Zeri, though, and she does manage to escape. Solidified still on her, but Zeri cannot participate in the fight anymore. Onat trying to kite around the side, but Yurison ends up committing, finding yet another kill, and now we jump, we reset, and we keep going. Soul Dynasty continues to take Red Team, put him on their back, and now likely to the end of the game.
Yeah, and it was so crucial that they win this, because Tryndamere was pushing on the side lane. If one member dies, that means that Tryndamere can try and push by himself. Now, Onat once again is alone. Tryndamere engaging in. Oh,
Soul Dynasty just doesn't care. There's
Yeah.
nothing that you can actually do into this
He does
Kha'Zix
have a
because he's
Yumi.
managing his cooldowns perfectly to still have Flash at the end of all of that, to be able to shut down Onat, who used everything to survive. It leaves no question in my mind that Red Team have earned their victory. It was incredible. It was invisible. You never saw it coming. At the same time, it felt like you could never stop it.
Oh.
Red Team are going to take game 2 of 3 here in the Challenger Showcase. And again, look great doing it.
Yeah, and like you're pointing out, complete credit to Soul Dynasty. I think that performing with the intention that we wanted to see, finding creative ways the best holder of the Yumi, maybe second to, I think, Malphite. I think Twitch wasn't the best one to carry the Yumi, even though it's the combo that you picked her for. But overall, great usage of the Yumi. And I do want to say as well, I like the way that he tried to bait most fights, because I think that most of the times it was baits out of the Kha'Zix that allowed for bad positioning from the side of the blue team, which then translated into advantages for the red team. And I think that that was piloted really nicely.
Yeah, I do want to say as well, if we're thinking about the other side of things, Onat impressed the heck out of me as well. We come out with highlights on both sides from these teams, and my only curiosity now is what on earth could game 3 hold for us? Because let's see, who will we have joining us once again? We'll still have Urasan and Hoarder are going to be joining us. Stevenator making a return, and Suffix making a return as well. So, Game 3 is going to be packed full of action. Be sure to check out our sister streams for the rest of the action over at Challenger Showcase, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Last kill, but Nod Lives gets out over the wall now. Cyber has the backup of Soupman, and Stevenator still barely alive at 100 HP. Limo picks up the kill, and now with Stevenator rejoining the fray, we will get the charm landing on Soupman, but as equally the kill picked up by this Jan. A really all-out brawl. Still holding on, doesn't quite have the ultimate just yet, but needs to protect ZKG. Charging forward, does get a little bit of damage down with Juke Jouster. Coming down south as well. Red team are going to disengage. They got what they came for, and Juke Jouster wants a little more. Very nicely done.
I feel like that was kind of telegraphed just by the time the chunk hit, so it's not worth to actually make use of it, and I think Solidify will go again.
Doesn't have ultimate this time, but look at the pressure that Solidified is drawing as well. You've got a top laner who can create these areas where multiple people need to address them. The problem receiving that gank is able to roam to match the Ahri, pick up some kills, and honestly is playing excellent support for the rest of Red side.
Yeah, honestly, making a lot of use out of moving around the map to ban.
Hearing voices from afar. Join the madness when the curtain falls. Risk it all, hold nothing back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game 3 on the horizon, and our final game of the night over here at the Challengers Showcase. Now, we've gotten 2 great games behind us, and I'm happy to say, TDS, that some of our storylines are continuing. We've got Hoarder, Suffix, and where was the other one? Stevenator and Urasan coming back. But we've also got new names like Actor, a new jungler entering the scene, ZDR, Notice Me Senpai, which I will be noticing, and Yumichi,
Great
and
name.
It's John as well. I know. For a Challenger Showcase, there really is nothing more captivating.
Yeah, we do have Anime Girl, if I'm not wrong, on the actual mature scene. So hey, we have Notice Me Senpai now. Maybe it's going to be the future of top lane, as far as we know. So who knows? But looking
Imagine.
at the actual, looking at the actual game bans, I mean, we have a lot of familiar faces with the action, the Kha'Zix, especially after what we saw in the previous game. I feel like a lot of these players do know how to play Kha'Zix, so taking it away feels like it's going to be much safe. And then we have the Seri, which even though was flex, I still feel like it's such a great AD carry to have on your side.
Yeah, this is super nice. However, the first pick, Rise, catches me off guard. Now, This is something that, yes, as a pocket pick, does work and is first pickable, as well as the fact that, I will say it has been rather strong recently. However, with things like the Aphelios still up, it's surprising to see mid laners locked in before that.
Yeah, I'm particularly never a fan of first picking your mid laner. Not even in the time when it was Corky Victor or Azir Victor, like the Stales meta. I never liked picking mid lane first because I feel like there's priority picks that you have in other places, and then you can have better counter picks in mid lane because there's a lot of
Mhm.
value that you can find. I just don't like watching first pick mid lanes. Like I understand why sometimes they do it, but I just don't particularly like it. Now, like you pointed out, Rice has been strong in the current.
Mhm.
I want to say 2 months. He has been rising much more in popularity compared to where he was previously. And then the Ari, obviously, I think one of the most versatile answers to a lot of champions right now. And she can feel a lot of the voids that sometimes you may have with mid lanes. Now, she doesn't have the base of wave clears, but she does have a lot of power that you want to play around with your mid lane. And then
Now,
Karma.
yeah. I was gonna say, locking Karma alongside that really does send a message because while she is a very, very strong support, she's situationally strong. And when I'm
Yeah.
looking at Karma, I'm thinking you've got a hyper carry coming from either the jungle or the AD carry position because Ari just isn't it. And top lane Karma's not going to have enough access to. So I'm wondering how the rest of the draft will develop for the red side.
Yeah, and I want to point out something with the Karma because just watching the stats that we have for the combine, which I think are great that we have them, Karma has 0% win rate as far as I'm noticing. She has
Hmm.
3 games picked and 0% win rate. Kind of makes me think that maybe Karma is not the best of choices, especially like you're pointing out, without having an actual carry that you
Oh,
can boost up with this Karma. It's not going to be that great. Now, let's jump to that pick. Sona in the bot lane. Now, will we get Sona with another enchanter? Because I think that would be a great bot lane to get, and it showcases what the priority may be for the blue team. But I still feel like she's such an underappreciated support that I feel like she should get more playtime, in my opinion. Like, I think that she has power that people have not yet showcased.
and I'm glad to see it picked up now. The question is just where it's
Ooh.
going to end up going. Your son ends up picking up the Ezreal. So Felio's fallen right through everything here. We aren't interested in any of that. Instead, it's a play from range style for our bot laner, and likely one that will leave the rest of the map as the focus. Because when you are picking Ezreal, it is something that can be relatively self-sustaining in lane. You see the karma, you go, they want to go for something lane dominant. Maybe it's best if we just let that happen.
Yeah, and I'm not against the idea, especially with champions that can be self-sufficient. Maybe Sona is a little bit more punishable than that of the Ezreal, but it's still champions that you can leave by themselves and they can find avenues to be impactful later on. Now, I quickly want to talk about it because this is a hover, but I really don't like it if you do opt into this. I don't think Karma Samira is the play. I really don't like the bot lane idea, and I hope that it's not what they opt into. But for the overall context, if you're facing against an Ezreal Sona, then Samira, it's not like she's going to suffer, and maybe she can find her avenue, her value towards the mid game, which is where she's going to be one of the strongest carries. And then if you have knockups, then you can actually find full value of the Samira.
Be really exciting. We're still thinking about it. And I know that we don't talk about hovers for a good reason. This can still be swapped out, but in Challenger Showcase, you've got to think, what is the most hype that I can bring to the Rift? And to bring
True.
literally a combo character in there would be pretty
Ooh.
cool. But combos aren't going to be entirely lost as Misfortune ends up getting locked in. Still goes great with CC, still brings so much value to the team fight, but has a lot better of a time synergizing with the composition that Red already have.
Yeah, and I feel like this combo Misfortune Karma, especially with what we've seen with the Misfortune opting into much more lethality oriented, can be
Mhm.
quite dangerous for the Sona. Like I know I said that Sona Ezreal is going to be a self-sufficient bot lane, but it doesn't mean that if you are caught out of position, you cannot get exploded. Sona
Mhm.
Misfortune Karma can actually deal quite a lot of damage, especially at level 6. So there's some consideration that we may have to have on that side. Now, I also think that this may set up for either really heavy CC on either jungle or top lane from the red team,
Yeah.
or another carry from that side. Because Misfortune, yes, she does find a lot of utility. Yes, she can deal damage, but she's not the one that you would typically put all your X into, right? Like she's not the one that you would like to put everything as a karma on. She's just the one that you can you want to protect, but at the same time give much more power to someone else.
The Viego's a really smart ban here as well because as
Yeah.
you were illustrating with that karma, you want to give that power elsewhere. Viego is absolutely the person that you want to take in the jungle to make best use of it. Hecarim, another
Yeah,
option though, and Hecarim's
that one.
extraordinarily strong right now. I'm surprised that it wasn't banned away first, and I'm curious whether blue side will end up taking that away or hoping that red side don't pick it up now and grabbing it themselves.
It's a tough decision here because I feel like Hecarim, like you pointed out, is such a good pick, especially with the Karma Misfortune. I feel like that would be what you would really, really want to play around with the Karma, even if he opts into a little bit more tankies. Like you actually get a lot of value out of the Karma Hecarim, and I feel like you playing for maybe red team not picking it is a little bit of a risky bet. Like I think that
Mhm.
you'd rather ban it away, although it's red team that it's banning it away, which kind of surprises me because
Fascinating.
I feel like would have worked great here.
Must mean that they've got something else in mind
Yeah.
and don't want to give up that Hecarim, perhaps. They are saving a niche counter pick in jungle.
Would they go
Extraordinary to
for the
watch the
fifth pick?
strategies evolve,
Oh,
yeah. I wouldn't mind this. Jarvan's pretty good. Jarvan helps out Misfortune. You are setting up your bot lane for a win con, as well as having ZDR able to really demonstrate a lot of prowess on being able to set up early game ganks, something that not every jungler can do.
yeah, and I think that with what we pointed out about the Sona Ezreal as well, I think that this is a combo that has enough damage to burst them out even under turret, even with the mobility of the Ezreal. So I think that in those ideas, trying to get a lead through bot lane is a plausible solution for the side of the red team. I'm not against this, even though I would have liked the Hikaru much more because I think that it synergizes great with the Karma. Like you pointed out, Jarvan still synergizes quite well with the Misfortune, and he's
Mhm.
also an early game impact kind of jungler, which means that if you can find binds on the mid lane with a charm from the Ari, if you can find a place on the bot lane with the amount of damage that there is with the Karma Misfortune, then Jarvan may be one of the better picks to opt into, especially early on. Ooh.
Ooh, 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 are we going for a lot of damage? There's no
Ooh.
tank locked in just yet, and it could be that with the Sona, you just go full bruiser and see what happens. A lot of options left, but the Gwen is a fascinating one to get picked up. It is flexible between the jungle and the top lane.
Yeah, you can play neither side now. This would mean that it's not probably not going on that side. Now it means that it's going on to the potential jungle here. I would like, if I'm honest, from the top lane, I think Camille would be great here because it's a great way to try and single out the Misfortune so that it's easier for the Wayne to just have an easier time getting on top of her and kill her. I think that that would be the better idea overall, but I can understand Nara as well because it's an access towards the backline. You have your Mega Nara ultimate to try and make the Misfortune and Karma don't want to play. And if you can also play around the German wall, like it creates a wall that shouldn't exist there, but that can benefit the Mega Nara as well.
Now consider that by putting Gwen into the jungle, we've actually gotten rid of a lot of early game threat from the blue side.
Yeah.
This is a very late game oriented composition, not just given the Ezreal, but the Sona as well, who needs so much time to scale up. Rise, who wants at least 2 items. A Gwen that doesn't really have the jungle impact in terms of ganks early on, and an R who, to be fair, is pretty good at all stages of the game. But
Yeah.
as a composition, as a whole, blue side aren't really playing the early game, and I'd like to see red recognize that with R5.
Yeah, and I would say this: please go Camille. I think that this is a Camille game 100%. I feel like this is a Camille game. I'm not a fan of the Aatrox here, but I can kind of understand it, especially because this is a pick that will try and snowball, which against
Mhm.
like the blue team composition, like you pointed out, may work out. I would rather
Mhm.
Camille, but Aatrox is acceptable.
I'd like it. This could be pretty darn cool if you want to try and style up against Mini Gnar. Any champion, really, who can get on top of Gnar in his smaller form and lay down the burst
Yeah,
damage is going to be highly valuable. And Aatrox provides you a lot of survivability and synergy with the Karma as well. Now that we've got style points in every lane, it
yep,
feels like top side is going to be a brawl between the Gnar and the Aatrox. We already know Hoarder loves a fight. The question is, does Notice Me Senpai, is he ready to boogie? We know that we've got junglers who are playing very different games. A heavy ganking jungler for ZDR, an actor making his debut today, is going to be picking up the Gwen and trying to make it to late game. Our mid lane matchup is certainly an explosive one, as anything with an Ari is, and bot lane is
agreed.
fascinating.
Yeah, like I feel like there's so much avenues to see that we may just get a lot of kills before 15 minutes. Now,
Mhm,
I think that that's going to be the place where this game will mainly be decided. I,
mhm,
I, I think that with the red team composition, particularly the last two picks, Jarvan, Aatrox. These are two picks that you need to make work out early on because their snowballing potential can greatly impact the way that the game will be played. And particularly because, like you pointed out, blue team composition is really reliant on the after 25 minutes kind of a spike. Like they can spike earlier to a certain degree, but most of the champions want to be towards 25 post 25 minutes, which means that if Jarvan and Aatrox can find a lot of value before that timing, ideally in the first 15 minutes, this game can just become completely bad for the blue team, and it will be hard for them to come back. Because one thing that they will have a hard time on is engaging. Yes, you have Mega Gnar, but it's a timer. It's a timing kind of engage where you're depending on the Mega Gnar bar, not like a Nautilus, not like a Leona, not like a Jarvan that on the snap of a finger you can just get on top of people. And I feel like that lack of engage potential, if the blue team is behind, may be completely detrimental for them.
Yeah. Now, a very quick note, I will say, as we get into the game, as we are going through the in-client draft, I've been referring to the red side jungler as ZDR. As I understand it, there are two names that could have competed here, and Hakubi will be the jungler that is competing. As to whether they're different people or the same person, different names, I don't know. I just know there are two potential names that could have played, and this is one of them. So Habuki is going to be playing. They might be the same as ZDR, they might be different. We're going to find out, though, because with all of our champions locked in, it's almost time to hit the Rift.
Yeah, have a great game on our hands, and I'm really excited to see what is going to happen, particularly on the top lane. I'm really excited to see that.
All right, well, without any further ado, then, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll be jumping into Summoner's Rift for the final time tonight. Welcome back to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. Final time tonight, Game 3 over here on XLNC Esports. The Challenger Showcase has been a banger. It continues to be so, as Actor and Hoarder, both looking for a fight, end up finding just a standard of Demacia. Yurasan already getting going in the bot side, and this game is not going to leave anything on the table. We give it our all as the very last chance that a lot of these players will have to demonstrate, to strut their stuff here on the big stage. And I couldn't have thought of a better game, a better composition to make it happen for both sides.
Yeah, it's all in, go kill or try or wait till we can be strong enough and then kill them. Kind of composition, kind of game, kind of excited I am to watch this happening. Also, to me, Urizen already is a winner because he hit the Q, which means that he gets the extra gold.
It's true. There's a insurmountable gold lead already. I am really excited, of course, to see how that plays out and how our Ezreal absolutely throws out bombshells with the Sheen that I'm sure he'll be picking up soon. Cole, actually, is the start, but we've got an invade brewing up in this top side with Actor picking a fight with Hakubi. This is a focus on the Jarvan, the likes of which I've never seen. Cyberbullying to the max, but it's Notice-Me Senpai who ends up picking up the red buff. Does not have the level advantage, crucially because of the lack of jungle item.
Yeah, which it's not the worst of situations because the worst would have been that it gets stolen actually and then you die. But it does mean that the Jarvan now has to go not only for the blue buff, but he's going to have a deficit in terms of the buffs that he's going to be able to run off, because I expect that the Gwen will get blue buff and then will try to go towards the red buff, or at least had someone protect it. Because if the Gwen can get that advantage, it's going to be much more beneficial for the Gwen and leave the Jarvan behind.
John suffering pain in the bot lane. First blood goes to Yumichi. What a nice play from Suffix and Yumichi, and I'm really happy that we got to see it as well. They're going for it again. Yurasan ends up going down. Yumichi eats the exhaust, but oh my lord, what a dominant bot lane. And after game 1 as well, I was so excited to see Suffix rejoin us. If this is the kind of gameplay we can expect, I want him every game.
Yeah, he's going for the trades, he's going for the plays. Great work with Yumichi. And even though the first kill is something that it's really nice to see, I want to point out the second one, because that was such a great juggle out of the aggro, because they both send out the out attacks at about the same time, but luckily because of the distance, the Karma is the one that gets the aggro, which means that they are able to juggle it perfectly. Misfortune is not effective, they get the kill, and already a serrated Dirk at minute 3 for the Misfortune. That is going to hurt so much.
I mean, you look at this play from an objective knowledge of League of Legends standpoint. You go, this lane is over. This
Yeah.
lane needs help. And taking a look at the jungle, we already talked about. Actor can't really provide that help. It's up to Urisan. Excuse me. It's up to Urisan and it's John to play this from a distance. But even that distance is going to be difficult to maintain when Suffix is able to free run up to you. After joining back up in the lane, of course, having gone on a very small roam, as supports do like to do after their first back, even if it is at 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah, the important part I think for the side of the blue team is that the Jarvan is really behind when you look at CS differential. So the fact that they are able to keep this Jarvan from actually impacting early on the map is quite important, because with the lead that the bot lane has, if they are able to just set up for another push to put out under the turret and they can force a dive, Sona is dead once again. She has no flash, so she has no chance to survive that. But the fact that the Jarvan cannot really impact right now the map because of the level deficit and the farm deficit is actually quite important for the bot lane.
Pretty miraculous the way that this has turned out already. Every other lane, though, still pretty darn calm, including that of the jungle, where Hakubi is still set pretty darn far behind. So we do have, where there is good, there is bad, and ultimately, gold lead still does favor the red side, but it is only by about 1,000 gold at this point into the game.
Yeah, you do have to think how much, like, you're pointing out the good and the bad, but how much does the bad go over the good in the game? And I feel like the fact that the bot lane is winning is a really important situation, and is winning so heavily, because this bot lane was a bot lane that was bound to be left alone. I think that jungle interaction was not going to be the case. Okay,
there
so
are 4 people.
Yep.
There are 4 people in this bot side. It's not
One
going
of
to be
them
fun
is
for
dead.
anyone. Onat doesn't quite land the charm, but I'm not sure that it matters too much as Electrocute gets propped. John gets autoed in the mouth by Hakubi, and Suffix almost manages to escape at the end of that. Taking the last turret shot does go low. But with Yumichi collecting turret plates, it is a death as a support that is well worth it.
Yeah, and this is such an important timing for the kill, because now the play was going to be on the top side. But notice Mrs. Pai smells it out, or I think he had a ward, which previously showcased where the Rice may have been, which just allows for him to run away, doesn't die, doesn't blow anything up. You get such a massive lead, and it's now not only the kill lead, the plate lead, it's the farm lead as well. 19 to 35, and a lot of the minions were lost under turret, which means that this Ezreal is in such a tough spot already.
Difficult for sure, and only going to get harder. Only going to get harder, perhaps, as we've got a gank going off on this top side. Mega Gnar did just become available, but the Gnar itself only separates one member, and with the Ignite going down, Suffix is going to be the one to claim the kill. And make it look so easy, just multi-banning everything, but the game for blue side is anything but. Yes, we're farming up a storm on this Gwen, but until Actor enters the game, you're not going to see a cent of that, and the gold lead is going to continue expanding on red side.
Yeah, and if I'm honest, I feel like if you ask an AD carry, which kind of support would you want to have, you would say Suffix in this game, because he's not only helping bot lane, he's not only impacting down there, he's impacting the rest of the map, finding value, getting a kill into an hour that would have realistically gone to other people, but you still get the kill. The value out of that Suffix is finding with this Karma is so high, and putting the gold lead into the pockets of their team is so good already by this Karma. Also, want to just accentuate your point on the Gwen, because like you're pointing out, she's ahead, but as long as she doesn't find value or gets anything done in the map, that gold lead is completely meaningless, because it's just a gold lead that you are using for nothing.
It's true, and our hope is that around perhaps 2nd or 3rd dragon, maybe even earlier if we get lucky, we could see this Gwen starting to whip out the magic. Horder taking another fight up top side. Doesn't quite have that Mega Gnar available just yet, so we'll wait for the real explosive impact. But with Stevenator perhaps getting caught, this could be the time for us to fight. Actor shows up, is already level 6, and this is that gold lead that we were talking about. Now we use it for something. Now we get another kill on the board for blue side.
Yeah, and Actor coming in, John is coming as well, so maybe looking for that. Okay, not much happening, but important kill to get onto Hakubi, even putting him much more behind. And I think crucial, much more so than Hakubi dying and blowing the flash, Onad cannot fail the bind there. You cannot fail the charm. You have to hit it, because that just means that it's going to be much easier for the Ryze to reposition himself, go for the trade kill, and get the value. Great timing by the Wen, great timing by the Ryze, and getting that kill, important to try and stop the bleeding as much as possible.
Now that we hit the rift once again, Hakubi gets to check up with the dragon. Notices it hasn't been taken. Actor is back to farming. We are constantly going for gold on this Gwen. That means Rift Herald in trade for the Infernal Dragon. Still, an objective given over to the red side, an objective for the blue side. We're starting to find out this game has a lot of dynamics, likely going to be economic ones that continue to bless us on the blue side, because they need to close this gold lead so they can start getting ahead off of these kinds of plays.
Yeah, and if I'm honest, I feel like Actor opting for the better trade out of the two, because first of all, this is a dragon at 850 minutes, yeah, at 850, which means that it's not going to mean that you get a wait. This means Senpai.
Nice flash. Nice flash.
I'm not tempting anything, just flash away and survive. Still, great play by Notice Me Senpai, utilizing the ultimate aggressively, and that's the threat. The threat that you get with the Aatrox and with against the Gnar. So great play by them. And just to accentuate on the point with Rift Herald, I feel like they need much more gold influx, like you pointed out. They need to put the game in a spot where they can recover easily if they win one fight. So the Rift Herald is going to find much more value.
I want to appreciate right now the reset that Yurasan and its John just took. After being dove earlier, they recognize that Yumichi is starting to slow push the wave, and while Red are setting up the play, there is equal counterplay on the opposite end of the rift. This lets Rift Herald go down in mid lane without risking anything else, and assures that gold will flow into the pockets of blue, even as a bot lane that are behind. Yurasan and its John are playing this with their brains on. They're not tilted. They're absolutely giving it their all, and I'm loving what we're seeing here. Stevenator going for a trade right now. Not going to find anything as John was roaming up towards the top side, and Yurasan is going to play with the adequate respect in bot side, even keeping Actor's jungle just that little bit safer.
Yeah, trying to just stop the job. Like, stopping the job for ever finding any kind of farm is still a very important strategy. He's so far behind from the Gwen, so any value that you get, it's going to amount to something later on. Now, I do want to say that I'm not the biggest fan of the Rift Herald usage there, because it just gives the Gwen the advantage. But if it's going to be a case where, oh wait, great
Nice
charm.
Suffix is going to come in. This is a dead Stevenator. I know Stevenator's been playing with a lot of confidence, and it has definitely been earned. But excellent play, and just too many folks in the mid lane to deal with. I do think it's fair, though, that we take a second to appreciate what Onat has been able to do in terms of applying pressure and trying to set up those plays. Though, as you mentioned earlier, not all the charms have connected. The fact is that he's been there to throw out every single one of them, which is more than you get from a lot of other Aries.
That is true. Like, it's the kind of situation where you miss every charm that you fail. That you don't... Well, yeah. I'm sorry.
You miss every shot you don't take.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
English is hard for me, sorry. But yeah, that's exactly the thing. And as long as you try, you're bound to hit one. And if you can hit it in the most crucial moment, it's going to find even more value for your team. So Onat trying out, it's important. Them getting the kill onto the Rise is important. And I also want to point out another thing from Onat, because he was far behind, or at least like I think 20 CS behind against the Rise, and coming back quite well.
In the top side, we're going to get a highlight reel going. Notice Me Senpai notices that it's pretty darn easy to kill this Midi-Gnar, especially right now when I've got ult and Hoarder does not have access to it. We've got a dive going on in the mid lane as well, with a very nice jump on from Actor. That's a lot of burst from our mid laner and jungler, taking down the Ahri, as Yurasan is sure to meet exactly the same fate. Yumichi grabs another kill, 4-0 now on this misfortune. The first tower is still a race.
Yeah, the difference is going to be the fact that you get first turret in the hands of the red team. The blue team is trying to get the turret as well, but the Gwen opted into sealing the jungle camps, which means that she was going to be a little behind to the play. Oh wait, Notice Me Senpai? That would have been such a good kill by Notice Me Senpai if he can get that, and stopping Actor from achieving much.
Actor, by the way, we have to continue to applaud this. I know we've been talking about it for ages, and it feels like we're beating a dead horse, but now 30 CS up. This is something else, and has clearly had impact in these lanes as well. Before, I think you would expect a lot of other farming style junglers to have. Actor is very clearly practiced on being able to balance his needs with the needs of the team, and even in a roster that is relatively new, you can see him playing selflessly by trying to attract attention with trust for especially Stevenator, who it seems like he's had a ridiculous amount of synergy with.
Yeah, they are playing really nice together, and you love to see that kind of synergy between jungle and mid because it's one of the kind of most impactful synergies that you get in the game up there with the support jungle synergy. So it's great to see that they are opting into that, and I feel like it also has to do with what they pick for themselves because I think that it's the easiest kind of setup for the Gwen to just get an EW from the rise and you just see someone to death, and it's so easy to get the kill. So I feel like it just works out perfectly for the both of them.
Essence Reaver's definitely starting to put in the work for Yurasan. This Ezreal is not doing negligible damage anymore. Now it's really starting to hurt. We had another red buff on Notice Me Senpai, as we saw earlier, and I do think it's funny that Aatrox has managed to find at least 2 this game, and we'll
More than
likely
the
find a
Jarvan.
3rd before the day is out.
Yeah, has had more red buffs than the Jarvan and could potentially just end up with even more than the Jarvan. So, kind of funny, but better your Aatrox than the enemy jungler.
True. That's what I always say. That's why my top laners steal all my buffs.
Wait, but aren't you a support?
Better me than them. Yeah, I shouldn't be getting the buff either. You're right.
Yeah,
I do wish. I do wish. Hoarder's gonna have Mega Gnar
Oh.
soon. An actor is here. Yumichi forced to flash away instantly, lest this Gwen take him down. But even then, actor does settle for the support quite nicely. And Hoarder still thinking about diving this misfortune. Got a while left.
Oh, the
Flash
flash
into
in.
Gnar ult. You're setting up for actor to come in.
Hoarder.
Hoarder takes that last turret shot and ends up getting out, but now actor is exposed. Has John for the heals, for the shields, and for the damage. Notice Me Senpai relegated back underneath the tower, and while that turret should survive, 2 kills going to blue side, going to actor is no small thing. This Gwen
could
is
be-
a monster.
When he's doing so much damage, but importantly, the Aatrox actually can do quite well as well. The only problem is that now he doesn't have ultimate. But still, okay, yeah, I think this shouldn't be more fighting. You got 2 kills, that's great. Just disengage. Just keep actor being this far ahead. Now, the response by, I think, the red team wasn't bad, but it is summoners that you're blowing up from one side of the map, try and make a play happen, and it's not that effective. Now, this repair has helped. I think you should take this 100% because there shouldn't be any response by the blue team.
And you can tell that because it doesn't get actor immediately gold, it's not happening. That's not the
Yeah.
play for this squad, as you've definitely noticed from the play, from the macro movements, from everything, that Steve and Aether and actor are at the helm of this ship right now and have taken charge. What is a relatively newly formed, actually, I'm just going to say a newly formed squad relative to everything. They've had very little time to gel. And I like the way that quick order has come into the team, with Steve and Aether starting to take over that side lane, telling Yurasan, go over to mid lane, figure it out as Ezreal. We're going to be fine. If me and actor can get ridiculously farmed up, that's the kind of taking charge you need to have in games like this.
Yeah, you need to know what you need to do in these kind of situations where you're not that far ahead. So as long as you can not be a liability, I think that that's the best way to put it out and find value for your team. That's still perfect. Oh,
Suffix.
the fix.
Does have flash available, but not going to use it this time. Relegated to their fate. Actor continues to go forward, looking for Yumichi. Can't quite access it over the wall, though. And the burn from beyond the grave. The red smite ends up taking down Yumichi, with Akubi falling next as Hoarder comes in. But what a play. Actor literally puts everyone on his back and says, we're going, guys, we're going.
Yeah. As long as you can get the damage, you get the kill, you get the value. That's everything that matters. Now, I do want to say, I don't know how Yumichi got the kill back. I thought that there was no chance that a Misfortune standing still while ultimating in would have been able to get the kill. She gets it, which is important because it was actually a huge shutdown. So a lot of gold coming back into the pockets of the Misfortune. And I do want to say, I find it quite interesting that she did end up into the Manamune, which I think is one of the more powerful items, but still opting for more sheer damage, maybe to try and spike earlier with the rest of the team as well.
Now keep the snowball going, right? Because remember, blue team's going to scale up a lot, and it's going to be very scary, especially when they're able to orchestrate plays like this. Excellent map awareness to know that Notice Me Senpai was in there, and even the healing from the Aatrox does not keep you alive through 3 people, especially when one of them is actor. Unfortunately for John, not much of that healing can do either when 2 different folks lock you down and clean you up.
And now, luckily for John, it's a top lane for a support, which a lot of people probably don't like to hear that being a great trade, but it's a great trade. It's better than your top laner dying. And the situation of killing the Notice Me Senpai is actually important because they get top lane turret. Yes, you're losing mid lane, but when your enemy already lost mid lane turret, it's actually not that bad to lose it here. This second charge though can be quite important. Okay,
Woo!
so nice.
Didn't even need to smite that time. All right.
Just autoing. Actually, such a. I don't want to say chat. I need to find a better word for that. But such a
Audacious?
strong. Yeah, it's something like that. I don't
Confident.
want to say chat. Yeah, confident. I think that fits better. Such a confident jungler to just walk in like that. Okay.
Walking like this. He's literally 1v4, by the way. Let us remember that here in this Challenger Showcase, Actor was 1v4 going in and absolutely not sweating it. Now, though, suffering a
Yeah.
little bit for that sin. Notice me, Senpai does collect the kill. It is a shutdown that gets given over to this Aatrox. And more importantly, it's priority over this Dragon Pit.
Yeah, and it's the third dragon that they will get. Oh, wait, Urson.
Might actually still be able to survive. Nice dodge on the charm as well. We've got a full front line here while Horde is trying to stack up the Meganar.
Oh,
Onat has to pay attention to that, and now Notice Me Senpai is far from home, cannot be accessed. Hextech Dragon does go over, and as you illustrated, it is the third dragon that Red side end up picking up. Their early game snowball has definitely paid off. I just keep finding myself wondering, is it really enough? Every time I see Actor go in, I go, are they good?
Yeah, the problem is that we've seen Actor being the main character in those fights, which all in all is great. But what happens when it's no longer just Actor, but the rest of the team? And that's kind of my worry when I see those fights, because we're reaching the 25-minute mark, which I think it's going to be the last bastion, well, not the last bastion, but one of the last opportunities or moments for the red side to get value. Ooh, fix. Oh no.
If Suffix and Actor are next to each other, Suffix dies. No
Yep.
question in my mind. 4 deaths on Suffix, I think 3 of them have been to Actor. It's like they've got a grudge.
Well, didn't Suffix get a kill onto Actor, or just try to go and steal the jungle from Actor at some point? I feel like it has to be that.
Could be. I don't know. Things are getting
Jun-
personal out here on the Rift.
Junglers do
And-
get personal. That's the kind of thing that happens with junglers. But Actor with another kill. Yumichi needs to be careful here. No support, and the Rice can just get the stun there. Oh,
It was a bait. They wanted to take him in. They wanted to try and duo it up. But Hakubi gets spotted. And more than that, Notice Me Senpai actually gets spotted as well. Noticed, shall we say, by Stevenator and the squad. Stevenator's still playing with a lot of confidence. And I like that we've got this other anchor being run. Hakubi does go for the
Oh,
engage,
good
but a nice
flash.
flash from John takes him out. Onat doesn't quite find the... There we go. Lockdown, but the charm ends up doing it for him. Still a pick. Converted for the red side. Now a potential Baron as well. Actor is in the area. They've got to
does
know
that
he's
mean?
going to do this.
yeah, now it doesn't have to be. So it's on Actor, actually. It's on Actor and the Rice, Stevenator, to try and stop this from happening. I feel like Actor can pull it off, but maybe it's putting too much weight on him.
I'm feeling
Oh,
like
he's
it
going
too.
in.
Actor ends up going in again. I say
he's dead.
1v4 finds a kill, and
Yep.
it's going to find a second, maybe even a third. The flash in, the scissors chop down, a triple kill, a quadra kill goes over to Actor, and now it just gets worse
Nice.
as the ace is completed, and blue team outlashed the Baron call from red.
Yeah, and I respect not giving away the penta. That's just my personal thing. But Actor, one before, we were saying maybe it's too much for Actor. Nah, it's not too much. Wen is way too strong at this point. Goes in, one before. Suffix was there for like half a second and died immediately. There was a karma and then there wasn't. Same with the Misfortune, and even Jarvan. Jarvan's supposed to be able to survive this for a little bit longer. And it just feels like she's cutting paper at this point in the game.
And nobody could stand up
Yeah.
to this guy. It's wild. It's not
She even
something
has
that
a
we
mega ace.
expected. It's ridiculous how much damage is being dealt. And level 14, the highest level in the game, well, outside of Hoarder and Stevenator, who are also solo laners, I might add. It's a jungle diff. It's literally that, and it has nothing to do with Akubi playing poorly. That's the craziest thing, because when I hear jungle diff in my games, I'm like, oh, well, I guess I shouldn't have been auto-filled. But in this case,
Oh.
Actor is just doing illegal things on the Rift. I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, it's hard to call it out, but I do have one thing that I want to call out from. Oh, he didn't steal the dread buff. I know it was yours, and I thought it was just Actor running in and smiting it. But yeah, like I do want to point out that initial play from Actor, or the initial play with Actor and Hoarder, because I think like that is just what makes it so hard for Hakubi to be able to play this game. Like you're pointing out, it feels much more so than Hakubi's fault. It's just that the well played. Oh wait, your son.
That's the thing. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Hakubi's actually done really well. Hakubi keeps making plays, doing everything that you want Jarvan to do, despite having lost red buff at level 1. And yet, the game is spiraling out of control. Yurasan maybe taken down. Oh, the failed flash really messes him up there. If we take a look at the top side, Actor doesn't care. Actor is ending the game. He's finding the inhibitor. He's taking down Onat in the base. As long as you stall this out, you guys are going to win.
Yeah, this just feels like there's barely a chance to stop Actor here. Even TPing from Stevenator. There's Candy. No, Aatrox is dead. Yeah, I think this is it.
They can do it. They can absolutely end the game. I didn't expect it. Nobody expected it. Nobody could have possibly expected what we've seen on the Rift today. Actor finds another kill. It is disgusting to watch this guy perform on the Rift, and nothing says the Challenger Showcase more than a game like that. GG's to the red team.
Yeah, and I'm glad we had that to close out the game, the series of games tonight, because I feel like it showcases, how will the junglers perform in all 3 games, in my opinion. I feel like for each winning and losing team, the junglers try to do quite a lot. Like, even in losing situations, junglers always perform. In winning situations, obviously, they perform quite well. And I feel like this game showcases that once again. Hakubi seems like he had a bad game. 3 and 5 is not what you really want from your jungler, but he tried to find a lot of avenues to make the game be viable for them, like dive some bot lane, trying to make this Misfortune and Karma be as strong as possible, finding again ganks on the mid lane when the situation was looking harsh. But I think that we have to go back to that level 1 invade from Actor and Hoarder, because I feel like that just meant destruction for the Jarvan. And it was so well played by Actor, because it's not only the fact that the red buff was never on the hands of the Jarvan. Jarvan, what I feel, was at some point 18 to 4 CS. And it was just so hard for Hakubi to always find himself in a spot where he was just not under-leveled.
I'm sure that as much as Hakubi didn't enjoy playing the side of the matchup, we do have to continue to applaud not just him, but the entirety of the red team, because we had some massive points of strength, and for the majority of that game, we had no idea how it was going to go. It was really once Gwen got involved that things just shifted. And well, while we're talking about shifting, we've got to shift gears a little bit, because we're going to pop into a break very quickly, figure out if we've got anyone for an interview, and then come right back. We'll see you soon.
Clockwork finna win 3-0. And Ryan got us playing like a cheat code. All I speak is big facts, no means, bro. Lotus White can't see us like a team, we been in out Zion Silver. Watch that bot lane.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have returned, and we've got an interview. The best interview we could have possibly gotten. We've got the Stevenator themselves. We've seen 2 games from Stevenator today on this stream. The first one, a Cinder performance in game 1. Unfortunate loss. I'm sorry to say, Stevenator. The second one, an amazing performance on the Rise that I will say was a win. So congratulations on the win. But even in the loss, you're a mid laner who has exceptional control of the mid lane, and I noticed this mainly because you always seem like you're first to the 2v2, at least in the majority of situations. I'm wondering how you managed to orchestrate that across both games. Is this something that you're prioritizing in draft? Is this just a way that you like to communicate in the game? What is it that makes you noticeably more mobile?
Well, I mean, obviously the champions help a lot. I think Ryze and Cinder are 2 of the strongest champs in mid lane right now, and they're also coincidentally like my 2 most comfortable champions. So I
Nice.
like prioing them heavily in draft because it means that I basically have full say over whether or not I want prio, and that lets me move with my jungler to effectively punish the enemy jungler, which I think is like one of the strongest ways to play mid lane. Like as much as it's cool to like get solo kills and everything, I enjoy playing like a style that kind of just lets me move first and create advantages because when you fall behind on jungle, there's not really anything that you can do. So as we saw, prime example last game.
It was pretty wild. TDS, I know you had some questions lined up.
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested that we're talking already about the second game. The first game, I can kind of understand how it happened because, like you're pointing out, jungle can kind of define a lot of the situations that end up going to the game. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're immediately losing, but it does mean how the next 10, even probably 15 minutes end up playing. So the fact that the second game looked kind of strange at the start with the bot lane kind of dying, but then the jungle being is still impactful, I think it's kind of interesting to see. And I would like to know how much of a say do you have in what happens with your jungler, or do you just try to follow up correctly with him?
For the most part, I just let actor like decide what he thought was the right play. But if I ever had prio, like basically, I feel like my job as a mid laner and what I tried to do is like if I have prio or if I can get prio, I communicate that, and then actor can take that information and basically decide, do I want to look for an invade here? Maybe sometimes I'll say like, are his blue camps spawning? Like, can we invade here? I have prio, I can move stuff like that. And from there, like I just kind of let actor decide what he thinks is the best plan of action, and then I follow up and I kind of just watch him on the mini map, and I'm there first if I need to be.
Yeah, I like overall the idea because I feel I understand 100% the impact of the jungler, and I'm as obviously not at the same level as you guys, but as a mid laner, I understand how important it is to always allow for your jungler because that can really impact a lot of the dynamics of the game. But at the same vein, I'm kind of interested because even though in the second game we didn't see much, I feel like in the first game we did see a couple of times where you also try to impact with your support, and I feel like support is also another place where you or support player is also another player that you need to kind of link up even in mid lane because I consider it a secondary jungler to a certain degree, and I feel like if you can link up with your support as well, it opens up much more avenues for your gameplay. And I'm kind of interested in knowing how you feel about trying to link up to with your support, and if it's more difficult or it's just kind of the same as if you tried with your jungler.
I think that obviously, like as much as the 2v2 matters, like if the enemy has a support roaming there, then you're going always going to lose the 3v2. So it's ideal to have your support as kind of like that three-man unit and like move around as three. That's super nice. This game we didn't really have the option to do so because we opted for a support that intentionally wants to stay in lane and scale and stuff like that. But like you were saying earlier in our first game, we had a more mobile support, a more active support. So obviously, if possible, I think it's best to like converge on the mid lane so that I can move with the support and the jungler, and then us three can just kind of be like an unstoppable trio going across the map. And that's my preferred way to play the game right now. And I think that it works really well, and it feels really oppressive to the enemy three-man unit if they're not as unified as you are.
Yeah, if they're not on the same page, it's very difficult to all of a sudden be playing catch up, right? And
Hmm.
a lot of that
Yeah.
from the mid lane, I think, is I want to say stereotyped as being something that you have a lot of say over. Like mid laners are, to an extent, people that we think of as shot callers. And you've
Hmm.
played on two different squads today. And as you and I were talking about in like the 30 seconds before we went live with the interview, we know that you've got a bunch of competitive experience behind you as well. Given the two different lobbies that you had today, how did you approach sort of comms? How did you approach making the most of a squad that you didn't have that much built-in synergy with to get on the same page as quickly as possible?
For me, like my style as a communicator, like I'm willing to make the calls if I have to, but a lot of the players on my teams today, in the second game less so than the first, but in the first game we had a lot of very like vocal players. So for the
Mhm.
most part, I just tried to contribute, but not over contribute. And what the type of things that I love saying and the type of things that I feel like I can contribute best is basically like centering us whenever we take a reset and we're gonna get back out on the map first. I like really bringing up like, okay, where do we want to go from here? Like, if we take a Rift Herald, like where do we want to use this, and kind of get us thinking ahead, and then pose some options of, well, we can use Herald bot. We could maybe look to accelerate our top laner a little bit and get him ahead, and then transition that into bot lane. And bigger stuff like that. On the kind of micro side of things, I mostly just communicate what I need to communicate, like whether I have prio or whether I'm winning lane or whatever, and then
Mhm.
let my teammates make their own decisions. And then on the macro side of things is where I feel like I do a lot better as far as bringing things up, and options that we can do off of resets and stuff like that. Which I think keeping the team focused and kind of centering the team like that is something that is valuable because a lot of times when you're throwing together squads who haven't played with each other before, silence can break out, and kind of finding that like shared identity of what you want to do on the map feels like the most important part to me.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I haven't heard a lot of other mid laners, other players say that. So it's already an impressive
Yeah.
quality that you bring to the table, being able to organize off of off of the resets as well, just an intention with every time that you hit the rift. And it showed today in both of your games. And I'm glad that we got you on for the final interview. Thank you so much for joining us and for showing us 2 great games.
Thank you for the interview, and thank you for everyone who put on this event. It was super awesome.
All right. Well, you heard it. You heard it from Stevenator. It was a super awesome event, and the best part of it is that you can catch even more of it tomorrow. Challenger Showcase will continue, and you can catch it same time, same place because as a reminder, we got 4 different streams running. You can be sure to follow XLNC Esports and Team Ambition for all of the updates on how to keep up with your favorite Challenger players, your new and emerging soon-to-be pros. We'll catch you guys tomorrow, and have a lovely evening.
Competition is full of some sinners. Treat them flowers like bots for beginners. Come and talk about shit, it's just pitiful. He keep his deaths under 10, it's a miracle. We brought a goat off the bench with a question. Why are you running your fears and staring? You see what we did to redacted? Make a proof disappear like it's magic. This series should go on the class. Triple swapping the bot is the gas. Coop show, take flashes. Pathin, fantastic. A la carte don't honor our deal. We sue son like NASA's back.